What's up, man? Coach.
Hey, Phil.
Yep. Okay, guys, how's it going?
Good.
Good, Coach. How are you?
Nino,
How are you?
I'm just grand. I've seen a bit more of Joe's smiling face lately than I've seen of yours. So how you been?
Good, thanks. I'm good.
You're a dad.
Yeah. I'm a dad now, so that's quite fun.
How did that happen? What happened there?
Well, when a girl and a guy like each other, and
Hold on a second. I gotta write this down.
Stop now.
It was a surprise. After the wedding, we were planning to have a baby like a year after, but he wanted to come early, so yeah, he popped out, and he's starting to love basketball as well, so quite fun.
So how old is he?
Turning up to about a year and a half, sir.
Wow.
Man, it's great. Yeah, I love it when I see the photos of all your guys' kids, and on Facebook and stuff. Now it's just adorable. It's just life continuing on. It's the best thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how quickly time goes too, because I feel like it was 2 months ago you posted photos that you had a baby, Nino. I can't believe it's been a year and a half. That's amazing.
Year and a half, and
Wow.
no, he's loving hoops at the moment, so I'm just gonna let him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't want him to watch a bit of UFC. He's starting to punch me now, and he's starting to kick me as well. So I'm like, slow down on that.
Yeah.
How's everyone been?
How you been, Joe?
To be honest, I've been really good. I'm quite fortunate. I've just enjoyed a lot of time with my kids, and just being able to reconnect. Like, the whole reason why I started doing this is because I realized that I just miss connecting with all my basketball family, basically, and that's why I came back. And I had a little break from coaching after Burnside, and honestly, people put me into these Zoom chats to stay connected, and I was like, I am going to annoy everybody that I care about, that I wish I could catch up with, and so yeah, I love these Zoom chats, and yeah, it's been awesome, and I've just been so happy. Like, the people that I've got to catch up with in the last couple of weeks just on Zoom has been people that I might not get a chance to see for a wee while. So, you're on a boat somewhere in Europe or something?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, your sound's breaking up a wee bit. I'm missing bits and pieces at times. It might be my end.
Here's young Kennedy about to make an appearance. I'll add him through.
Oh, okay. Yeah, another dad.
Yeah. There he is.
Oh, hey.
Good evening, everybody. Well, good morning for Phil.
Yeah, mate. It's 11 o'clock in the morning here. I've been up for minutes.
Very nice.
So what are you up to, Coach? Are you doing a bit of, well, clearly doing a bit of traveling? What's going on? Where are you?
Yep.
Cyprus?
Helen and I for the past couple of years have been mucking around over in Europe, and coming back we've been doing the endless summer routine. So summer in New Zealand and summer in the Mediterranean. So I have a couple of passions in my life, apart from my wife, of course, and one of them is basketball, which you guys probably know a little bit more about than I do, and the other one is sailing. I've been sailing for years and years and years. So if I wasn't playing basketball, I was sailing. So we have a yacht over here, and we're just well, at the moment we're not doing any sailing at all. The Mediterranean is effectively closed. You can't go anywhere, and all the ports are closed to private traffic, etc., etc. So we are just hanging out in Gibraltar, doing some painting and sanding, according to the captain over here. Doing all those jobs that you're meant to do if you ever had time, and now, of course, we have got time to do those jobs.
Awesome.
But looking forward. But there's basketball happening here in Gibraltar. last year I spent a little bit of time with the Gibraltar. They've got a national team here for the size of the country, all 34,000 people here, and they play in the Small Nations League, and they're quite passionate about this sport, very passionate about this sport here. And day before yesterday, met up again with John Gonsalves, who is the sort of basketball leader in this area. He's also the mayor of the town, which must help a bit as well. And he's a FIBA rep for this area of Europe, so he's quite up there in the echelons of administration in basketball in the world. So it's been wonderful just chatting with him. Yeah. But I'm dying to get back into some basketball. I was going to be doing a couple of things here with youngsters, but that's all on the back burner now. So that's my life.
Living the dream, coach.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Helen's saying it's not on the back burner. It's Can you hear that in the background?
Slightly.
Oh, okay. My overseer here is correcting me about, yes, I will be getting into it soon, apparently. Yeah.
Nice.
Tell me about what's happening back there. Looking at the web, everything seems to be quite a lot of flurry of activity from Basketball New Zealand and from coaches between coaches, and working on strategies of keeping players still developing and still fit and those sorts of things. How's that working out?
I think people are feeling pretty optimistic. We've got, I think this weekend, is it Sport New Zealand or somebody's going to put out the new guidelines for level 2, something like that, I think. And on Monday we find out about the review for that level if we're going to be dropping down to level 2. So I think people are feeling pretty optimistic about that, and we're just curious to see what sports will look like at level 2, what we can do exactly. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about, apparently we can get back to trainings, hopefully. So yeah, that'd be pretty exciting, but I'm not quite sure what the season's going to look like, and that's what I've heard so far.
Same thing.
Same. Where are you, Nin?
I'm still in Christchurch.
Oh, okay, right here. I'm myself. I'm just a little bit worried that I used to think that basketball was not a matter of life or death. It was far more important than that. But I don't, in reality, and I just hope that people just don't get too quick off the mark.
Yeah.
Looking from afar, I think New Zealand has done everything beautifully in terms of, but that's a two-edged sword. Because it's worked, I don't think a lot of people fully understand what's really happening out there in the world. Right. Yeah. Right next door to us, there are literally thousands of people dying, and that's like within spitting distance of where I am now.
Wow.
Not in Gibraltar, but that's a tiny little place, but in Spain. I just, conservative is good, which goes right against all my life philosophies, like I've never been conservative about anything, but this, no one ever died from not playing a game of basketball.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that, I think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think it's people socially and kind of like, when you can kind of sit back and reflect on what it is that you're excited about doing with your year. I think people are kind of itching to get back into whatever it was that they were excited about. But in the same sense, I don't think there's too many people that will be pushing, against whatever we're told is safe and what we can and can't do. It's the kind of vibe that I get from talking to people here. Hey, Coach,
you'd have a closer vibe, wouldn't it?
I just got to say something while I've got you here, because I think the last time I saw you was at Middleton Grange and you were coaching, and I brought my whole Burnside squad over to you, kind of hijacked your huddle, so I could introduce you to my team to let them know that the Phil Burns that I constantly reference is this man right here. And it's I'm again, like I keep saying it, but I'm so pumped to get you guys on one screen is pretty exciting to me. A pretty magical time, SIT, and what you created, and I think to all the players that have come through that have made that have become influential people in the hoops community, or coaches, or whatever it is that they do. And I was curious to why so many. Well, I know because I think you're the man, but so many people that you were involved with have been inspired to be able to help the next generation through basketball. And then when I caught up with Kennedy, which was awesome to catching up with him, that's when we were talking about we've got to get yourself. And I got probably about 6 or 7 messages from people saying you need to get Phil Burns on one of these things. So I just wanted to let you know that you're still the people's choice here.
None of them were referees.
True.
Oh God, yeah. Well, look, I certainly have had my moments with referees over the years. But I'll tell you this. There is at least one referee that likes me. I remember grabbing a guy at Carl Stadium and kicking him out, who was giving a referee such a hard time. It was like, it was unbelievable. This guy was out of control, and he was in the crowd. He was like in the crowd. It was unbelievable. So, yeah. So there is one referee at least that might smile when they see me occasionally. No, I love referees. Yeah. Very essential to the game. Kennedy.
Absolutely.
So can you hear your schedule looks pretty hectic. Everyone's trying to get a piece of your time at the moment, and sounded like you had about 10 different Zoom chats today. So sorry for annoying you.
No, it's not a problem at all. It's just the times, I guess, because with all the social distancing, this is the best way that we can present to other coaches and players, via streams and Zoom chats and YouTube streams and Facebook Lives and all those sorts of things. So, yeah, for me, just I've got a couple of meetings tomorrow. Then the rest are just sort of coach education that I've been running via Zoom over the last sort of 8 weeks. So yeah, I've become pretty adept to using Zoom and PowerPoint presentations and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a bit of a different experience for me, and not one that I feel incredibly comfortable doing. So it's been good for me in that sense. Just something that I wouldn't normally be doing, because I'm so much more comfortable being on the floor with players and then obviously coaching. But we're similar to, obviously I've seen a few of the things New Zealand are doing, and obviously I think everyone in the world's pretty envious of the measures that Jacinda Ardern and the government have gone to back home. Really there's sort of the the example or the role model that everyone's really should be trying to model their same structure around with what they're doing. But I've seen the stuff that Basketball New Zealand have been punching out to, a lot of online support. I think you're going to start going to some online coaching as well, which I think is great. So, and we're pretty similar here. We have a review date from the government on the 8th, which is this Friday. I think it's this Friday. You lose track of days after not going to work for a little bit of time. But we're similar. We're going to a sort of 3-stage model. Level A, B, C restrictions. We're currently in level A, which is what we're doing. For sport in particular, I'm talking about here. You basically can train and educate people from home in their own space via video. And when they go back to level B, I think then we're allowed up to 10 people on a court, including your coach, with no contact, so you can work on 1-on-0 basic skills. And bits and pieces, and then C, which is back to regular competition. So it'd be interesting to see what level we come in at the end of the week. But I dare say probably the government here is a pretty pretty reserved, and plus, not to mention, because every state's doing it slightly differently, and some of the states here are sort of relax the rules, and then people are really sort of just taking the mickey out of it and going to the beaches and droves of thousands. So that's probably just going to spoil it for, Victoria's obviously the biggest state with the largest massive population. So I dare say we'll probably be, in the same situation here for at least another month, which is fine by me. I mean, as Phil said, no one ever physically died from not playing a game of basketball or coaching a game of basketball. My soul might have died a little bit just because I think, you obviously want to be on the court, but if it's the worst thing that happens in my life, it's a good life. So, in fact, we were just sitting at the dinner table here because Chelsea and I are at the in-laws now, and we're just saying like that. They were saying probably that's similar to being in a war, world war. People are at home, no one's going anywhere. So it's we're pretty lucky that this is if this is the worst thing that happens in our lives, and we're restricted to staying at home. Well, we've lived pretty damn good lives.
Nino, on a coaching level, I don't know if many people knew this, but you came into when Burnside was doing pretty well. You were coming in and doing your handle sessions with my guys, and I don't know if we didn't really talk too much about when we stopped doing those sessions, but those guys used to ask for you to come back in and do that all the time. And a lot of them like swear that, adding like some serious ball handling to their game. I learned that like if you get a 3-man or a 4-man, some handles, just how drastically that improves your team, how we can push the ball up the court. What kind of advice would you give young people to, utilize this time at the moment? If they've got like another week, 2, 3 weeks, whatever it is left, and I keep getting, my students keep on asking me for more and more things to do, which is great. But what kind of advice would you give those people, those young people at home wanting to get better at basketball? Where should they go to look, or what kind of things should they be doing? Not obviously like a full program, but just some general advice to those people. I'm going to edit that heavily because I think I said 200 words for like a 1-sentence question. So I destroyed that one. I hope that makes sense though.
It makes sense.
Nino, what would you be telling teenagers?
Teenagers, probably just like goal setting. Definitely look at something achievable. Don't follow a lot of things like these mixtapes that you see on YouTube and all that stuff. Obviously, those kids that's high level, they practice and train ridiculous hours behind what they're doing. But for an upcomer or aspiring players, goal set. Start from the basics. Always work the fundamentals, and then from there you can always advance or add a new move or add a new dribble to your arsenal. I mean, with this timing now, it's great, but playing and utilizing your new skill against competition is always a good thing. But yeah, there's so many factors. But for this time frame, just goal set. Just review back on what you feel like you need to learn. Ask your coach what sort of system you guys have been running, and what you're expecting from your players as a coach as well. So something like that. Constant communication with your coach is probably ideal as well.
Yeah. Coach Phil?
It's a difficult question.
Yeah.
For me, it's a difficult question. People's individual circumstances are so different. Mm-hmm. If you were living at my house, I've got a full-size keyhole, a basketball hoop up there. You can shoot threes, yada, yada, yada. You can practice a full range of individual stuff. If you're living in an apartment and you've got a hallway, and a ball, it's a different world. And I just wonder, this is an opportunity perhaps for people to start thinking about some of the more crucial elements of the game that they never have time for normally, and that is the mental side of it. Like, how are you reacting to this situation? Like, how resilient are you? You know, and the sort of questions that have got to be phrased in a way that people can relate to. But I think you guys know the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. Are you a fragile person? You know, and if you are, how do you cope with that? You know, like, what are going to be your strategies? Because this is one thing in life that has altered your life. But there are going to be, life is going on. You know, like the most apt quote in the world about life in 3 words: life goes on. You know, that's it. Life goes on. So you're going to meet situations all the time, and you know, if you can meet these situations and have some strategies about how you're going to overcome them, they're portable skills. They're skills that apply not just to your sporting life, but to your money earning life, to your social life, and things like that. I don't have a magic formula in mind about what I'd have a person doing, you know, but yeah, that's about it from me. I wish I could be a bit more profound than that, but I can't. Everybody's situation is so different.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got a mum or a dad who are into the game, they can coach you, they can show you stuff. If you're a one-off and totally new to it, and isolated, it's a different set of fish. Get some books, start reading, get an idea of the history of the game, get an idea of what ideas have come before, and you'll find that there is bugger all that's new in basketball. You know, 2 minutes after Nesmith threw a ball onto a court, the first pick and roll was being executed. Yeah. But apart from the physical, so I would say, look, have a think about life, have a think about how you react to hardship, and are you happy with that, how you handle that? And if not, what can you do about it? Who can you talk to? Work on your relationships with your parents or your caregivers. You know, work on that stuff. That will pay off on your game on the court. I'm telling you, it will pay off. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm an old dinosaur, what I know.
No, I love it. You're the goat, Phil, not a dinosaur. You're goat.
Cheers, mate.
Coach Ken, I know that's a really tough question, but any advice to teenagers?
Well, look, I think, you know, both Nino and Phil hit the nail on the head with a number of things. And one thing is, you know, we tell the kids here is basketball will come back. You know, it will be back, and you know, you have a personal responsibility. If you're a pro playing NBL, WNBL, or a state league play, you have a personal responsibility to make sure you're ready, and that's ready both physically and mentally. And you know, the current situation is, everyone's situation is very different. Everyone's circumstances are different. Some people only have a patch of, you know, a square meter to work with, a little bit of concrete at home, a driveway. Some have hoops, some don't have hoops. And you know, in a situation like this, and you got to make the best of your environment. And basketball is probably one of those sports in the world where you don't actually need a hoop to practice the game. And so you do have those opportunities to work on your mental skills, for example, whether that be you're working on your concentration, your focus, your resilience, your motivation, your ability to cope with pressure through, you know, whether that be meditation of some sort, and work on confidence through preparation of your own skills. But the challenge I'd be setting to players certainly would be the mental side, because that's something that I'm actually presenting on that this weekend to a number of kids and a couple of other associations. So I'm looking forward to that. But in terms of skill-wise, well, again, going back to the point that you don't need a hoop to actually work on the skills, you only need a little bit of space in the basketball. And every kid that plays basketball, I mean, you know, I didn't grow up had an awesome home environment, but went completely financial, but always had a basketball. You know, every kid that plays basketball has a basketball. So you can find a patch of grass or you know, shingle driveway or concrete to go and work on skills. So my challenge to kids would be, well, go work on your mental skills secondly, work on your conditioning, because there's so many things you can do and so many apps you can get access to that are going to help, service those parts of your game. And the other part is, well, work on your handles. You can work on passing. You can pass against the wall. You can find a brother or sister if you've got a mum or dad at home that coach or don't coach and they've got two hands. Well, they should be able to catch a basketball and throw it back to you or rebound. So you've got an opportunity to work on just basic fundamentals. And, again, we're probably in a world now where there's so many things accessible. In fact,
yeah,
the first ever email I ever had was when I started at SIT. It was my Hotmail account. It's still currently operating, but there was no YouTube, or you couldn't go and Google search anything back in those days.
Exactly.
So, I just don't think the youth, well, first of all, they don't have, they don't understand how good they've got it with just the accessibility to digital media out there on the World Wide Web, but even just, resources and other people to be able to go tap I'm really biased towards Canterbury because that's my home and that's where I'm from, but you just don't understand. People don't understand how many amazing coaches that that are just around in Canterbury. I would challenge anyone to say that any city in New Zealand has produced or has better coaches. There's just that much knowledge. I know the Aucklanders are going to be really sour about me saying this, but that's just too bad. The great coaches ever in New Zealand, of course, but there's this accessibility to so many things. So challenges to kids. Work on a weakness in your game. If you're left-handed, right-handed. If you're right-handed, left-handed. If your shooting form's poor, well, it's a great time. You don't need a hoop to work on shooting form. You can work on those mechanics without a basket. So there are just so many different things that people can be doing. But I think just conditioning, mental application, and mental skills, and then obviously your basketball skills are all important things. And it's a great time too to study the game. Watch great players play, whether that be WNBA, and you're a young up and coming young girl and you want to watch women play the sport, or watch EuroLeague, or you're a young boy and you want to watch EuroLeague for the men and NBA or the NBL. I mean, there's plenty of great examples out there of how to model your game and take little portions of that.
And the way that they respond, some of them totally rely on us to provide. Whereas, when I was 15, 16, I had a crappy old ball that was worn to bits and a terrible hoop in the backyard. But I got to practice every single day. You can kind of, like you guys were saying, and it was a small driveway, but it's just interesting watching kids now and how some of them are totally reliant on their coaches to provide whatever, and other kids can be a bit more resourceful. And also some kids, I don't think we can compete. Sorry, Coach, yeah?
I've lived a reasonably long time, and I tell you, I have no reservations on this at all. The kids of today are no different to the kids in my time. They're wonderful, and they're idiots, and they are intelligent, and they've just got different ways of getting to the same place available now, and so maybe they don't use other ways of getting there because there's a new way of getting there. I can look, if you're getting depressed about the fact that not everybody is working it, independently and stuff like that, mate, I played on the national winning team, and I can tell you in that team there were people one or two exactly like that would only ever come to practice, and that's all they ever did for their own training and stuff like that. And then you had others who at the other extreme who did nothing but practice and go and go and go. So don't get depressed about it, Joe. It's how people are. Hey, it's how they are. In my opinion, anyway.
Oh, for sure. That kind of leads me into something I was wanting to ask you, Phil. What was the best era of Christchurch hoops? If you can compare, not too many people that I get to talk to got a chance to see those different eras, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
60s and 70s.
That's where it was at.
Now, I missed the beginning of the question. Is like, was the question what was the greatest era?
Yeah,
Or what was the question again?
Is there a decade to you that stands out as far as like the quality of basketball and the type of players, just levels wise?
Okay. Different eras stand out for different strengths. This era, say over the past few years in Canterbury basketball, to me, it's been the strongest I've ever seen it in terms of organisation, administration, development of coaches, development of referees. And I'm not denigrating anything that's gone on past that, but I am so in awe of the work that has been done behind the scenes to improve the game. So I think this era now is sort of outstanding. Going back a bit further, you didn't have the communication between coaching staff. There were attempts to, but no. And the reason I used to hear, it made me laugh, people would say, "Oh, well, coaches won't talk to each other because they're afraid of giving away. They're afraid of giving away information. Giving somebody else the advantage." No, that's rubbish. The reason they didn't talk to each other is because if you shut the hell up, people can only suspect that you're an idiot. But once you start talking, they can confirm it. So I think, people were very quiet, because if you start going on, know what you're talking about, because it very soon becomes obvious that you don't, or not as much as you think you do. So I think this era is a complete change, and that's the strength of now. I can remember the joy of when the National League, the men's National League, sort of kicked off, and the crowds and you went to watch your Americans play their Americans, right. and that was basically the game. But the teams that did the best, of course, where they had some pretty good Americans but stronger Kiwis as well. And I'm thinking back in the 80s, and so it was a delight. Personally, man, the 70s, the strength, high school basketball was everything in my life back in the 60s and the 70s. So I was looking at it. I find it really difficult to compare eras. In the same way as, this greatest of all time player thing that's going around at the moment. Like, is it Jordan? Is it Baba? Is it, LeBron? I can't make sense of it. I really can't. You're comparing, it's not like you're comparing apples and oranges. It's just not a comparison thing. They're all great players. They're all fantastic players. So every era in basketball is a fantastic era in basketball, but they have different strengths.
Yeah.
I despaired of basketball for a while with a flurry of rule changes that occurred. So, okay, here's my thing then. The strength of the greatest game in the world, if it's not going to be basketball, it's soccer. What we call soccer, football. Football is that there's daylight, then the rest of the sports start to kick in. I can think of 2 rule changes to soccer in the past 100 years.
Yeah. The
offside rule and the tackling rule, right? That the game was good enough as it was, and it hasn't been doctored with, if this game had been in America, if soccer had been in America, so I'm just using a different game as an analogy, but it applies to basketball too, if you think about it, they would have, given more points for goals that are scored outside the box. You would have had a 2-pointer, not a 1-pointer goal. You would have had a bigger goal mouth because people want to see more goals. They want to see more goals. They don't want to see 2-1. They want to see 142-3, you know. But they've resisted all those temptations to change what really works well. And I just see rule change after rule change after rule change in basketball. And I can't understand what they're trying to achieve with half of them. Yeah, the 3-point change, I can see that sort of stuff. But other things, every year it's, what is the next new interpretation going to be? This travel thing, which to a dinosaur, it looks like travel, it smells like travel, it tastes like travel, the crowd's yelling out travel, it's travel. There's no discussion about it. Your skill as a player is to learn how not to get yourself into a situation where you have to take that extra goddamn step. Now, I know it's step 0 and all that stuff. No, it's not. It's your first step. We all know it. You know, pivots. I watch the NBA, and you can change your pivot foot indefinitely from what I can see, and nothing's called, especially if you're earning $100 million a year. So that's my rant about the eras in basketball. And there was a time, I think, through the 90s and early 2000s, where every year there seemed to be something that came in that modified the game for a purpose which I can't understand. It makes it more difficult to referee, and it's difficult enough to referee the game of basketball, and it certainly makes it more difficult to understand what's going on. So that was not a highlight year epoch in my view. But then some great things happened then as well. So that somebody shut me up, for heaven's sake.
No, well, if I try and ask another question, 900 words will come out, and I'll just ask the most. So please keep talking.
Okay, well, what's this fascination that the more points that are scored in a game of basketball, the better it must be? Kennedy, you're a professional coach. You tell me the answer.
I honestly don't know the answer to that question, and certainly, I mean, whether the rules change and you know, with rule changes and different interpretations, it certainly hasn't changed the way I'm coaching. So, you know, and philosophically, really not much has changed from what I did 10 years ago to what I'm doing now. You know, I'm just trying to get better and better at what I'm doing. So for me, not too much changes. And those don't, you know, rule changes and, you know, the way the keyway with it becomes bigger, or they stretch the 3-point line out further, doesn't necessarily change too much what I'm doing. Some of the analytics do, they influence a little bit. But at the end of the day, you know, offense is still about creating the best possible shot you possibly can create. And if that's an uncontested naked shot, well, you know, I want my teams to shoot it. If that's a mid-range pull-up jumper with X amount of time on the clock, I'm happy for them to take that. If it's a 3-point shot, we'll take that. So analytics changed a little bit, but to be honest, for me, not too much has really changed. And I think you find with most coaches, it's, you know, those who have probably been coaching for, you know, a certain period of time, I don't think too much changes for them. I think for potentially new coaches, I don't know, but, you know, sometimes I feel like analytics, and as good as they are, they're just kicking people in jobs. Someone's going to get paid to crunch numbers, and it's better them than me because I'm terrible with my maths. So, no, but look, yeah, it's you know, I'm in a similar boat. You know, as for example, the 0-step, which you referred to before, the 0-step, 1-2 step. Again, it hasn't changed or influenced the way I teach footwork. Nothing's changed. I've kept it the same, and perhaps some of those coaches out there that have a better understanding of that interpretation, and, you know, perhaps some of their players are at an advantage. But realistically, you know, for me, I don't see any reason why the ability to shoot the ball, whether that be on a stride stop or a jump stop or onside or cross-step footwork, a Euro step or a 2-step or 1-footed layup or a pro hop in all out, they're all perfectly good methods of scoring 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and still today. So, you know, for now, I don't see any reason to change, unless, of course, throughout this isolation period, I get back and start coaching, and all of a sudden my teams are not winning anymore, and we're getting blown out, and everyone's doing the 0-step stuff. Well, then obviously things might change then, but for the time being, it will stay as it is.
Okay.
It's strange seeing in the NBA game. A lot of people started enjoying college basketball a lot more than NBA. You've seen that happen over time. But it's weird seeing some of the halftime scores in NBA games, and it's just kind of, when you see it's like teams scoring 80 points in a half. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's not as enjoyable to watch than 90s and 2000s NBA basketball.
Definitely. I would rather watch an NBL game than an NBA game, to be honest with you.
I think that the most exciting part of the game of basketball to me, which I as a coach get far more enthused about, is great defensive plays rather than great offensive plays.
Yeah.
Often great offensive plays are truly wonderful. They're truly wonderful, but they're individual abilities, they're individual brilliance, they're moments. There are very few brilliant, there are some, but very few individual brilliant moments of defense, in my opinion. The things that I look for in there that get me really excited is the ability of a player to influence another player, so that so that the person who's actually done the work is not the person who ends up guiding that player, guarding them right at the very beginning. It's how they're handed in onto the next player, or where they are influenced to take a shot from, which is 2 feet from where they want to take the shot from, because they always practice taking the shot from that particular spot, but you get them 3 feet from it and they turn into a different player. Taking a dribble opportunity away from a player who's great at getting to the hoop, and the smarts of just standing off them, enough to make them look bad if they don't take the open shot, and they know they're going to look bad because they know they're going to miss it. They want to go to the hoop. Those are the sorts of things that really get me excited about the game of basketball, and yet I don't see too much reward for great defense, though, in terms of rule changes, though. The no charge zone and things like that have certainly helped, though, help reward good defense in those sorts of situations, and the ability to move backwards and take a charge. You never used to be able to move at all. Things like that, they have been constructive, I suppose. But the most interesting game for me to watch is the game where 65 points are scored. My philosophy, if you ask going back, and I've won 1 or 2 games of basketball as a coach. You score 65 points and play defense, and I mean play defense. Don't pretend to, because there are a lot of players out there that can point to the person that they're marking and shake and bake and look like they're moving their feet, but they're not playing defense. They're going through the motions. But if you play some hard-nosed defense and score 65 points, you'll be competitive in a game of basketball. All Kennedy, then obviously you're going to have to score 150 to beat him. But you can laugh now, Kennedy. Okay.
Sorry, you just delayed a little bit, so you skipped out, and I missed part of you, and it could just be my internet here. So
it might be mine too, mate. So if you want to talk about what floats my boat, it's defense, not the offensive side of things. You got to score points. But I heard a very good coach say the other day that they never ran any plays for one of their best players in the game, and he always scored his 20 and got 20 and 10 every game. I can tell you, mate, I've seen it with the likes of many players that I've had over the life, and I've coached all of you. How many plays have I ever run for any one of you guys? I can't remember any.
No.
But you get your points. but calling defensive plays and defensive execution really did float my boat. So
Yeah.
Have a look at Andrew Johnson. There's a player you probably never heard of. Have you heard of Andrew Johnson?
Oh yeah.
Well, AJ at Nationals averaged 30-something points a game and close to 20 rebounds a game and about 8 assists a game for the Nationals for a week, playing 2 games a day, including the final, the national final.
Wow.
Not one play was ever called for AJ. They came out of the offensive. They came out of the offense, and to be honest, I'd be buggered if I know what the scoring opportunity was ever going to be out of any offense that I ran with those guys. There was no, my philosophy was, if I knew what was happening next, then the other coach knew what was happening next. How do we get onto that topic? Am I rambling again?
No, not at all. I haven't heard that name for a wee while, but going to Kereama High School and AJ being a Rangiora legend, all I heard through all of high school was like these urban legends of what AJ did in high school ball. So I remember when I finished high school and I had to actually play against him in club basketball. That's when I got to saw it. I thought, okay, it's real. I think he dropped 40 points on me. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But my point there is players, the hardest team the easiest team to beat is the team with Michael Jordan in it from a coaching point of view.
Yeah.
If you're coaching against a team with Michael Jordan in it, then that's a great, easy game to coach. The hardest team to coach against is a team where everybody scores 8 points. And there's 10 of them.
Yeah.
That's a hard game to coach. Mind you, I do believe Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time. But any team can play defense. Any team.
Yeah.
And then the more athletic your team, the better defense you can play. But athletic versus strong-minded, give me strong-minded any day. Give me some tough son, just is not going to give up.
Yeah.
And you can make a game occur. And if you can keep a game under 10 points, anybody can win that game in the last 2 minutes. Does that sound negative? I don't want it to sound negative. I don't want it to sound as if I disrespect offense. It's not it at all. But I just see all the time people concentrating on who's scoring how many points, who got the best dunk of the thing, spare me. Show me a defensive assist. Show me something that nobody ever will write up in the newspaper that happened 2 plays before that guy, and got shut down. And that's the exciting stuff.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, did you? I was talking to some coaches yesterday, and we're talking about doing defensive drills where if it's 3-on-3, and the defensive group need to get 3 stops in a row before they jump off defense, and we're talking about upping the ante at trainings to get that defensive intensity to step up. And I made the comment about how when you run those drills where a team needs to get some stops at training, that first or second, defensive effort, they think they're playing defense, but if they haven't got a lot of stops and the offense keep rotating through, and those defensive players start getting sore legs and they start yelling at each other because they need to get those 3 stops so they can get off the court. And we're talking about the difference between that, what they think's defense, and then that when they level up, when they have to get that extra stop. Did you have a strategy or like a drill that you'd introduce at training if you wanted to increase that defensive intensity?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, reward what you're trying to achieve. Okay. No, you want to stay on the court. What player ever wants to get off the court? Okay. So have a game, have your 3-on-3 or your 4-on-4. You know, you've got 12 in the squad, 4-on-4 and 4-on-4. You only score points on defense. That's the only way you can score points. So when you score, that just gives you the right to go on to defense, and you stay on defense. If that drill's going for 10 minutes, you want to be on there for 10 minutes that you can stop other teams from scoring. So, you know, every time you get a stop, you get a point, and you might get 2 points for a steal. You might get 1 point for a defensive rebound, because that's the end of it there. So stop rewarding people by telling them that they can stop playing defense.
Yeah.
You reward them by saying, yeah, you're a great defender. Your reward is you get to stay on defense, you know, for the next 5 minutes. You know, you're not going off. You don't want to go off. Yeah, you're tired, but shit, how are you going to feel with 2 minutes to go in the game? And if you're the player you think you are, you have played 35 minutes of that game already. Now you're tired. Let's watch you really play some stuff when you need your mental toughness and your physical toughness. So if you want people to appreciate the value of defense, reward it by making them play more of it, not less of it. Don't let them off the court. Give them the right to stay on the court. Give them points for it. And if you score against it, that gives you no points. That just gives you the right to now start playing defense in this drill. You got to score to earn the right to play defense, and not score to earn the right to get off to let the next team come in. So that's one thing that I think works.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then they start communicating. You know, instead of biting each other's back, they start communicating and value that. Basketball is about making that there add up to that. Okay? 5 people have got to add up to 6. The effort that those put in is like having 1 extra person on the court. And that shows up mostly in defense. Absolutely, in my opinion. Yeah.
What's going on in the mind of Nino right now?
I'm absorbing it all in and just reminiscing about SIT days, pretty much.
I wish I knew where my SIT. Did you see that photo I posted a wee while ago of my SIT uniform?
Yeah, we're missing one.
We should recreate all those. I'm sure that group chat that we've got with SIT, I'm sure all the guys would love to.
Do you know where most of those uniforms are? Do you want to know what happened to them?
Yeah.
They're in Tonga.
Yeah.
Most of them are in Tonga.
Were they donated to Tonga?
2000. Yeah, in 2011, like I said, Helen and I enjoy sailing. We sailed out to Tonga, and we had a dozen sets of uniforms in the boat, and just gave them out to schools and clubs and stuff like that.
Nice.
There. Yeah. So, yeah, but one school is missing a uniform, Joe.
Barking up the wrong tree, I think, Phil.
My bad.
It's an old school photo. I remember vividly trying to keep uniforms back in the day. I remember desperately wanting to keep my SIT uniform. I think I somehow managed to get an Aranui basketball singlet that I probably wore to bed for the next 3 years after attending Aranui for Mr. Coach Bert Knox. But that's such a keepsake thing. So even today, I get a kick out of when I'm collecting uniforms at the end of the season, and you get a couple of kids try and, you know, finesse you by saying, "Oh no, I can't find it," or "No, I've dropped it off," and you're like, "I know what you're doing. Bring it tomorrow."
Kennedy, is there anything that you want to mention about SIT uniforms, Kennedy?
I'm pretty sure I got given my one. I can't remember. I'm sure I've still got it. I don't think I fit it anymore, but I'm sure I've still got it. I might still fit it. I don't think I've grown since I was 14, so I think I'm still the same size. So thank goodness.
Right.
Yeah. No. They were certainly I was probably one of the lucky ones, because I got to play in one of the first teams, I reckon, the year that Trent Bell and Chris Summers and Ben Jeffrey and James, I think,
and the gold uniforms.
Yeah. I got to play in those very, very first ones a long time ago. So and yeah, it was certainly a real buzz to be able to be part of that. And I think pretty sure I was fortunate enough to play with the team, even to the point where I think SIT was then based at Pioneer. And then by that stage, it was the program, ceased to exist after that. So I think I was one of the fortunate ones to be with the club from the very beginning all the way to the very end. So I've certainly got some fond memories and had some great coaches, worked with some great coaches throughout that whole process.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Then, were you there in Kennedy's year?
When we used to bunk high school and attend Friday practices, yeah. Yeah, so watching Tim Edmonds and those Canterbury legends sort of train, that sort of inspired you, even Luke Osborne, so I got to give him a shout out. But no, it was, that really inspired us. I think we were 15, Ken. We used to like just walk out of school and attend it with James Lisserman. And just been there ever since. Like, I remembered when you accepted my application was I had to play well in one under 23 game. And then after the game, you said, oh yeah, I've already accepted your application for next year. And I was nervous as hell. I just wanted to play well because I was playing for SIT Blue that year. And
Okay. Oh,
yeah, a lot of memories. So it's gonna be.
I did actually try to find a picture of the Wigram base, where we used to be based online. Could not find a single. I can find pictures of the outside, but not of the inside. They've tended to wear gymnastics. Thing. What a sacrilege, as far as I'm concerned. Like, what a waste of a court and a half. And it was a great place. But one fond memory, because obviously, I ended up coaching the Tall Ferns. But I remember my year there, we got to play the Tall Ferns. And right. I don't know if you remember, Phil, Joe Mildenhall, who was one of our golfers, actually videoed the game. And remember, I mean, that Tall Ferns team was there were some tough cookies on that team. I mean, Donna Wilkins or Lofhagen back then was still playing. There were some women there that, you just wouldn't want to get into a fight with any of them because you were going to lose. But I do remember playing the game anyway, and we might have given the Tall Ferns a rather large touch-up from memory. And we had, there were some pretty damn talented players in the team back then. But I do remember not Joe Hammond, obviously Joe Mildenhall, accidentally slipping and saying something on the video that may have gone back into the video review with yourself and Tracy Carpenter that Donna Wilkins may have overheard during video session, which wouldn't have made her very happy. I'm glad there wasn't a rematch.
Actually, I can double down on that comment. Sorry, Phil.
You're breaking up. Go, Joe. Sorry.
Okay, Phil, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm pretty sure you set up a similar game. Our SIT team played the Tall Ferns at Rangiora in their high school gym. And I was so excited because just the opportunity to play against, any New Zealand team. And I'd never played against a girls team. So I took that like as an opportunity to, I was excited about that game. And Heath Miller, big shout out to Heath Miller, did one of the worst. The basketball gods were furious at Heath for this upcoming situation. He blocked. I can't remember which player it was, but he blocked her shot like right in the beginning of the game, and he laughed. And that whole team just looked at him, and their demeanor just after that. It was one of the most physical games I've ever played in.
Yeah, mate, you can make an awful lot of mistakes. Yeah. That time with the Tall Ferns was pretty frustrating in many respects for me. Kennedy, I was always jealous of the resources that you had at your command, with the Tall Ferns and the program that you could be running, et cetera, jealous in the nicest possible way. I thought, this is just great. This is how it should be. And I know nothing is ever perfect, but but the respect shown to women's basketball these days is getting to where it should be. It's still got, there's always room for improvement, but it's getting to where it should be. But the disrespect that guys have for women's basketball, to me, is unbelievable. I can remember I used to train with the Rangiora team back in the day, and we would be training at the same time as the women. And if you want to talk about some tough people, to play against, the reality is, there's not too many dunkers and all that sort of stuff, and sheer mental toughness, which I rate so highly in the game. It's just such a huge part of the women's teams that I've played against and coached. So Heath, having said that, and I spent some time with Heath over Christmas back in New Zealand, up at the Sound. So it was great to catch up with him again. He never told me about that, and I never knew anything about that. Well, I can't remember it anyway. But that wouldn't have endeared him to a lot of people on the other team.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I think we started off like quite well. I think it was like a 12-0 run to start the game, so they were already getting a bit frustrated. And then he added insult to injury, and then the rest of the game was, it was fireworks. But it was fun.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Do you want one of those? Here's one of those surreal moments in basketball for me. When I was I was the assistant coach of the team. I was the assistant coach with the Tall Ferns. Tracy Carpenter was the head coach. We were in Invercargill when we were playing there to play Australia. Now, and we really hadn't had much time together. I mean, we're talking hours, just a few hours on the court together. And I remember Gina Farmer was unable to play, and Gina was probably going to be our go-to player in some respect. She could shoot the ball, she was tall, she was athletic, but she was also not uninjured at the time. But anyway, we woke up in motel in Invercargill the morning of the game, and I turned on TV to watch the news and started flicking through the channels, because all I could get was this bloody movie about some aeroplanes crashing into a couple of towers in New York City. And so this is really strange. And Tracy, an American guy, was on there, and I realized this was news, this was live, this was happening, this was the 9/11 episode. And I remember waking Tracy up and saying, "Look, mate, you better come and have a look at this. This is something pretty awful is happening back in your home in the United States." Yeah, so that was, to me, you tend to put the big losses out of your road, because we got hammered by Australia, absolutely hammered in every game. One of them on national TV, which was reasonably invigorating. But that moment was the thing that stands out of my brain. There we were in Invercargill, and there was New York City being rained upon with those aeroplanes crashing into the Twin Towers.
Mm.
But back then, the team did not have the resources that it has now, which is, the improvement is it's light years ahead of where it was.
Yeah. And sad to say that, and obviously not diminishing the work that had been done with, when I was involved with the team, and, the funding, obviously the level of funding we got from the government, I can say this now because I'm not the coach, was pretty pitiful. Donuts. Obviously Basketball New Zealand were generating that money for themselves and doing everything they could. But the reality is I coach a state league team now that has a better budget, and we train more often together. And it shouldn't be that way. So a national team, obviously I've been fortunate enough to coach some really successful state league teams in the last 4 years, but it shouldn't be at the point where, never I should feel that comfortable that with my state league team, they have a much better understanding of, what I'm trying to do philosophically because we've spent more time together. So I think there's still a lot of battles to go with that Tall Ferns program. And again, I think they're in the medal they won at the last Commonwealth Games is awesome. And, I'd like to think that, I'd always wanted to put the program in a better position that from when I left it to when I received it. It's a for my opinion, a trademark of a good coach is you can take a program and leave it in a better place. And so seeing them continue to succeed is always, was always really important for me. But still they're obviously, going to have some challenges still financially, and obviously the current situation won't help them or the women. But women's sport, long way to go in terms of, financial support, and particularly the basketball stuff and back home. So, but it would have been really tough for you back then because I know how tough it was for me. So I'd imagine anyone prior to, myself would have had it even more difficult and had even more challenges and more barriers. The funny thing, it challenges your coaching. You become a very good at, putting together something with the bare essentials or nothing at all. You become very resourceful. So for me, I'm, obviously really thankful for that opportunity because it, obviously, besides building all the relationships with players and the experiences traveling the world and, it's enriched my life, but it's made me a really resourceful coach too.
Awesome. All right, lads. Well, I think Mr. Kennedy had an hour available, and I'm mindful of how much time I talk until I can't talk no more, which is usually quite a few hours. So
I've still got time, so don't cut it. Don't cut it short.
Okay,
just keep going. I'm okay.
Someone call a timeout once we get to that point, because I could talk with you guys for a long time.
I wish Nin would shut up. He's nothing but bloody.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
You're always the strong, quiet type, Nin.
Oh, I try to be. I try to be the quiet one. I'm not too sure about the strong one, but yeah.
No, I think you were. Yeah. Well, so what's next on your agenda of things to talk about, Joe?
Oh no, I've thrown my questions out the window. I poor performance with the questions. So I just wanted to say a couple of things. Was that where we used to train at Wigram, that court, that's one of the happiest times of my life was training at that. I still remember the day that I rocked up my first day there and, putting on my kicks and meeting Eden Hanley and me and Nino becoming besties and, Vicky and, all Paul Galland, Paulie.
What happened to Vicky? Did anyone been in contact?
Yeah, I caught up with her a wee while ago. I think she's based in Nelson now.
Okay.
Yeah, she was awesome. I think I couldn't drive, so I was one of those people constantly asking people for it. I was flatting in Rickerton with Blaisdell, and I was always asking people for rides. But Vicky, I think she lived a block away, so I used to. That's how I'd get into SOT. Was she'd take me to and from at lunchtimes.
And she'd get you here on time too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I stayed at the Wigram Lodge one year, and I remember getting a key from you, Phil. And there's something pretty magical when you can go to that gym and you're the only person there, and you can shoot for as long as you want. And it was such a great time. I knew I loved basketball, but after that, it was just having access to yourself and Ashley kicking my ass, trying to do some strength and conditioning, and that gym. So same thing, Kennedy. I remember driving past and seeing it was gymnastics, and I would have loved to have just gone in there and just watch people play basketball. And so yeah.
The only legal hoops in New Zealand are in that gymnasium, and I had them made.
Yeah.
They're the only ones in New Zealand that are absolutely to FIBA specifications.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, and the springs on those things, they're the valve springs out of a tractor, I think. And they've been tuned to, it will support the exact weight that it's supposed to support, standing weight off the front of the ring before it breaks away. So here's another thing. If you want to become a good shooter, a pure shooter, get yourself a hoop that is stable. Not one of these things that flops around and rattles around and the ball touches it and it blah, blah, blah. That will not teach you how to shoot properly. If you could shoot the ball on that hoop, on that court, you can shoot the ball anywhere.
Well, definitely worked for a bunch of people. I remember training there, that's for sure.
And I feel you with that, Joe, especially like before I started driving, I used to catch 2 buses. I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get into town just to get to SIT because I wanted to miss traffic. And then whoever was there used to let me in, and oh man, that was heaven. That was heaven, man. I miss that place. I want to go back. Let's make it. But,
funny story. The strength and conditioning or the fitness testing we used to do back then, which back then was a standard sort of beat test and vertical jump
test.
And but the repeated high intensity endurance test, the REIT test, which is a really, really no one does it anymore. But I've introduced that.
Is it old school now? Is it?
No one does it anymore. But I just remember, and I mean, there aren't too many times where I go back and I'd say, you know what? I mean, there were some tough sessions. Particularly if things weren't going well and we weren't focused and we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing and we were, running penalties or whatever. But I just remember if I look through all my basketball, all my time, all my rep stuff growing up, I always remember that was the one thing that made me suffer more than anything else. So I do it now. Like I've just started implementing it with a lot of my state league teams and state teams and throughout WNBL, and players, they hate it, but they love it because it's 3 minutes. We're going for 3 minutes and 6 30-second intervals. But it's game-like, because the big test is, but you don't ever run at that slow pace. The game's it's dynamic and it's quick and it's partly anaerobic and aerobic. So that for me that is one of the best conditioning drills or exercises for basketball players. So for those who don't know what it is, you've got to look it up. And I actually believe the All Blacks still do it, or they do something similar. Maybe they do the yo-yo, which is it's slightly.
They do the yo-yo, yeah. And I think netball does too. Actually, I might be wrong. But it's a killer, isn't it? That fitness thing, and that basketball is a stop-start game. It's a stop-start game. It's a game where you've got to learn how to stop quickly and efficiently as much as start quickly and efficiently. And that test certainly tests those skills. But I tell you what, I'm a pussycat compared to my coach when I was at high school in terms of fitness. So, can
you please expand on that, Phil? I really wanted to ask. You told me about the success that your high school program, when you were playing, had, and part of this lockdown time, I've had a lot of time to dive into YouTube, and part of what I'm trying to do is create, almost document parts of Canterbury basketball and things like that. And I just wish that we had footage of, some. So one of the things I had written down was I'd love to hear from you a little bit about that, because I think people need to, what's the word? I need to bring it to light. We need to remind people what a powerhouse that program is. It's incredible, the results and the success that you had at that school.
Well, I like what you're attempting to do, Joe, in terms of documenting and understanding the history. Like, it's the same. Basketball is a culture, race is a culture, there's all sorts of things, and it's knowing where you come from is important.
Yes.
And it gives you a platform, it gives you a sense of perspective of where you can head to. And so we weren't the only school, I suppose, that had a program that was an actual program, but I'm happy to talk about it. basketball saved me. I would have become a very good thief. I would have become really good at it. I would have, made a career out of it, I think. But sport and basketball in particular gave me a focus. And at our school, I'd never heard of the game until I got to high school. And I thought it was a game that girls played. But at Mairehau High School, which is the most successful school in New Zealand history for basketball, people don't understand that. People's memories of 2 sound bites ago. The women, I think, the girls won it maybe 9 years, about 7 of those in a row. The boys won it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in a row, and were always in the top sort of echelons there. I was fortunate enough to be a member of the first team that ever won the national championship, secondary school championship for the boys. The girls had already done it several times before that. We had a coach called Kerry Williams, and Kerry is a bit of a legend, and there are, like all people, there are sides and dark sides and good things and bad things about it. But he was the best thing that could ever happen to me. He made me understand my place in the universe pretty early. He was also an excellent athletics coach. He knew how to train, and he knew how to train for a purpose. So he trained some very, very good athletes, runners. One was a guy with the name of David Green, who you may not have heard about, but David Green at the age of 16 was the world record holder for the 800 meters. Wow. At the age of 16 in the world, for his age group. Mm. And he got a full ride scholarship to go to the States to continue his athletic career over there, which from what I understood just didn't work out for him. But he was running at the same time as John Walker and was at that level. He was very good. But Kerry, to him, the game was about fitness and attitude. And no game of basketball that I ever played in my life, was as hard as any of the practices that we had with Kerry. Wow. We would sprint and sprint and sprint and sprint and sprint, and we were fit, and we won lots of games of basketball, lots of them, but not because we were individually great players, but because you had to be sprinting at the last 3 minutes of the game, because we would be, so you could be within 8-10 points of us then, but we would win by 20 because we would just keep on going. We'd run through the wall, literally. Kerry would, if he asked you to sweat blood, you couldn't. Nobody can sweat blood, but man, you can go really red trying. You can really redden up trying to sweat blood. And it was that toughness, that mental toughness that we had in the school. Now, we were a school of about 600 students from memory. That's boys and girls, not 600 boys and 600 girls. I mean, total of. Yeah? So you don't need a big school. But I can tell you, every class had its own basketball team. We didn't play in the school competitions. Every class, so there might have been 4 or 5, 6 third form classes, whatever. They all had their own boys and girls basketball teams. We played on Friday night. We had this thing called Friday night basketball. So essentially, half the school was playing basketball every Friday night in the school gymnasium. It would start the second that school finished on a Friday afternoon, and it would finish at about 11:30 at night. And you only played 10-minute games because there were that many teams involved. And you had to pay. And if I remember correctly, it was 10 cents. You had to pay 10 cents a night to play. And if you couldn't afford it, you could book it up, but you had to pay for it by next week. You had to go to Kerry's office to pay the money, and they'd get the list and things like that. So we had huge numbers for a small school playing. And then from that Kerry would select what he called the junior development squad. And that would be about 30 players from each third form that he worked with. And you would have your junior squad practice once or twice a week, all year long. And you were taught individual skills and team skills. You'd run through drills and all that sort of stuff. And we all had to sit our referee certification. As part of being a member of that junior squad, you had to do the referee's test. So we knew the rules. You know, we had kids there who knew the rules really well. And that's another plus about Canterbury basketball and New Zealand basketball, the way they are bringing in, you know, youngsters who want to referee, because it's a really skilled thing, and it's a very stressful thing for them. But yeah, so that was the genesis of my playing basketball. One, I thought it was a game for girls, but I knew it was a good place to go and meet girls at our school, so signed up immediately and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the game. I can remember going home and telling my mother that it's like flying. Now, those of you who know me, I look like an egg-bound duck. I don't look like anything that will ever leave the earth. But I can remember the first time I learned how to execute a layup. And it was like, oh my God, this is like flying. This, to me, if you put a ball in your hand, your body seems to be able to do things that, like, could you imagine diving on the floor just for the fun of it? You know, but in a game of basketball, you will, won't you? There's a loose ball, you'll just dive out and those sorts of things. You're flying. And I just fell in love with the game. And I was always the worst player on the best teams, you know, worst. When I sit down on a pine bench, I can tell you where it was milled and what year that tree was when it was cut down. My backside is so finely attuned to sitting on benches that it understands benches like no other person in this universe. So I didn't make the top team until the 7th form, until year 13, and I sat on the bench and for most of that season as well. But I loved the trainings, absolutely loved the trainings. And after I left school, within 2 or 3 years of leaving school, I started coaching because I was never going to make a good player. You know, I loved the game, absolutely loved the game. And I still play it. So when I'm back in New Zealand, there's a going nowhere club, old fellas all my age or some youngsters who are about 50 and some guys who are a little bit older than me in their mid-70s, and we still play, and we still think that we can move for about 5 minutes before we get down to the pub. But yeah, it was the best thing in my life. And the camaraderie and the friendships that I still have based on that. It's like any sport. It could have been any sport. I should have been a rugby player. I played rugby for Canterbury during the grades, during the at the same time. You know, I was playing rugby and basketball and rugby league and things like that. My whole life revolved around sport. I should have stuck with rugby if it was a career choice. But there was something magical about this game that just wouldn't let me go.
That high school environment, it almost sounds like a movie.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I could tell you some stories. Friday night basketball. Yeah. Hey, listen, you got to stop me, okay? You just give me the nod and I'll stop. But Friday night basketball was the greatest social event in the universe. But there were also always some heavies that used to want to come along, and it was called crashing Friday night basketball. These were adults. So we didn't have security guards or anything like that. These days you'd have security guards at the door. But you would get guys who were liquored up, maybe ex-students who were coming back and they were going to teach everyone a lesson about, you know, they had a gripe with Kerry or something like that. And it would be, Kerry would tell them to leave, and they wouldn't. Now, Kerry was about 5'8" and thin, wiry. He was the New Zealand cross-country champion in his youth, and he was still fit but what most people didn't know, he was a welterweight boxing champion in the army. So Kerry wore glasses, and he would say, you got to go. And they would tell him what they thought of him. He said, leave now. And they wouldn't leave, and Kerry would do this. And he'd hand him to one of the nearest fellas who was standing by. and it'll be boom, boom, and it was all over. You know, these days, that would make national headlines. You know, like you couldn't have that sort of thing. But it was just a regular event. It was like a show. It was like there is a movie to be made about it. Believe me. Yeah. Happy times.
I heard it. I think this is an urban legend. I don't know why. When I heard this when I was younger, I thought it was one of the coolest things. I don't know why, but I heard that at Mairehau, there was a banner back in those days when you were dominating basketball. Was there a sign on the gym wall saying "Pain is your friend"?
Yeah. I don't know how long that lasted for, but yeah. There were signs all around the basketball court, you know, which had not too many of the inspirational stuff that you know that people envisage in basketball stadiums that these days. And I think I've said it to, I'm damn sure that I've said it to all of you guys. When you want to throw up in a game of basketball, right? If you've been playing and you want to throw up, just know that if you've done this right, the guy that's marking you's already thrown up. You know, like, you know, you've won. and you know, yeah, pain's transitory. As long as there's pain and pain. There's pain that's going to cause you physical damage. And I don't tell players to just run through things and toughen up. That's stupidity. But discomfort is part of the game. It's what makes sport. It's the difference often between sport and recreation, you know, which I always draw a difference between it, you know. Recreation, have fun, and it's good. It's a great thing. And the score maybe doesn't matter and yada yada. But when you're playing sport, sport is by nature a serious and fun thing, but it matters that you're trying your best. It matters that you are putting yourself out of your comfort zone. But pain is your friend. Yeah. In that gymnasium, you weren't allowed to walk on the floor. You got caned for walking on the floor in anything but bare feet. You were allowed on a bare feet or gym shoes. To get to Kerry's office, you had to walk across the floor. So there was a defined pathway around the edge of the gymnasium, and you had to walk right around the edge of the gymnasium the long way. Because if you walked across that floor with anything but basketball, you know, without sports shoes on or bare feet, you were in huge trouble. So we learned to respect the environment that we were in, and we kept it immaculate. Kerry would give it, you know, you talked about a key, that you had a key to the gym at Wigram. Kerry would give keys out, and in return for that key, you were expected, you cleaned the gym. I can remember scrubbing backboards, you know, getting a ladder up and actually physically scrubbing them, turning them white again. Yeah, I suppose maybe we don't do that so much these days. It's a different world.
Can I just say, because that's one thing that always stuck with me through SIT when I went to Aranui with Bert. You know, you and Bert in particular, the floor, you'd always clean the floors before training. That's actually stuck with me. I clean. So, you know, this year in pre-season, you know, I'm coaching a state league team, and I'm bringing methylated spirits and water bottles. You know, we had a scissor mop and everything, and they just couldn't comprehend why I'm doing that. And I said to them, look, it's just part of what I do, and it's what I was brought up. I witnessed this as a player. I watched my coaches clean the floor, and it was the same when you were coaching at Girls Highfield. You did the same, you know, when I was assisting at Girls High. I did the same when I was coaching at Girls High. It just became part of the culture, you know, part of the everyday tradition that you'd show up before everybody else and clean the floor. But you know, it's to say that, you know, for people to have that level of respect for the equipment back then, because it was precious, you know, it was a really sacred part of your everyday ritual, to be able to have the privilege to go on and play the sport and have access to an amazing gym. And, you know, I could imagine, well, I can't imagine, but I'm sure that there wouldn't have been a whole lot of basketball courts back around. There aren't enough now. There aren't enough now. We're crying for more facilities and more resources. But then and no Australians are going to listen to this, so well, not many anyway. If they do, so I don't care. But you've got no idea how much it grinds my gears if I'm here on a Friday night, Sunday, Friday night with basketball, because that's the way that the state basketball's played here, and people leave rubbish behind, and people don't put this in the bin, and people walk in front of benches during the game while the game's, and I'm just like, I won't say the word, but you just want to wring their necks anyhow. But it's just, not everyone's like that, of course, and that's a generalisation, and it's not exclusive to one club or another. But I'm amazed these days at how many, you really do have to have I think you have to have a really intimate relationship with the sport and yourself and your own, and be really in touch with your own philosophy to get to that point where, you go and clean the floor before every training out of respect for the game and out of respect for your athletes, because you want them to have the best facilities possible, irrespective of the state of your gym. But that always stuck with me from yourself and from Bert. And it's funny, it's amazing how many guys I'll speak to now from school or from SIT, and they'll talk about things like that. Remember when coach used to get here early and clean the floor? I'm like, that's what good coaches do.
I mean, I witnessed that when I helped you out with Girls High as well, and during Aranui days too. So when I coached the under-17 team, we it's a privilege to be on the court. It's not a birthright, or it's we got to do what we got to do. We got to make sure that everyone's safe, and just respectability. I think that's what's in all honesty, that's what's a little bit missing with a lot of the players nowadays. They think it's a right just to turn up, and I think if they have that respectability from when we were growing up, I think they'll appreciate it more. Because high school right now is probably one of the best competitions in Canterbury basketball. Not a lot of them were able to go to college. Unfortunately, that's the cases. But we want to create fond memories for a lot of the players, and if what Phil has done onto us and instilled like a code of ethics, then we've done something right. So that's always stood by. And I think if you play the game right, respect your teammates, respect your coaches, and everything will fall into place.
And you know what happens too, and it happened with you guys, and it happened at Girls High, and that. If you just do that, and you consistently do it, and you don't make a big thing about it, you just do it. You arrive at practice one day, and do you know what? The team's already doing it for you. And that's you've won. I mean, you haven't. It's not a competition. You've made progress. They now understand that this is an important part of the team. That we play in a clean, safe environment. That's a huge step, and it almost inevitably happens. So with some teams faster than others, and to be honest, it's not so much with the representative teams. It's the teams that you get to make personal relationships with. The teams that you coach week in, week out, sort of thing. You get a chance to create a real family environment where helping each other is really important, and it's a huge part of the battle. Huge part. Do you want me to tell you a funny story about a guy who disrespected our school, Jim?
Yes.
Yep.
So there was this chap, and I won't use his name. I'll just call him, I don't know, Ian. You remember Ninja Stars? Hey, Ninja.
Yeah.
Ninja Stars. You throw them, and they stick into things. Well, Ian at Metalwork decided he'd make a whole swag of these Ninja Stars, and he became very good at throwing them. He came into the gymnasium one lunchtime and threw one, into the backboard. Stuck in beautifully. Not the end of the world. If he had been smart, he could probably have got a ladder or something like that and got it down, and maybe nobody would have noticed, let alone Kerry. But he thought, nah, I'll throw a ball at it and knock it out. Now, balls were really expensive, and the best ball that you could play with back in those days was a thing called a Super K, and it was a synthetic ball, and it was really, really expensive. And I think we had about half a dozen of them in the school, and then we had all the other sort of. So Ian chucks a Super K at the Star. Psst. Star's still in the backboard. Ball is deflated. How stupid is that? Well, I'll tell you how stupid that is. He picks up another ball because it couldn't happen twice in a row. Boom. Ruined another Super K. 2 Super K basketballs. Well, like, you know, a million years' wages back in those days. Well, Kerry found out. And this person ended up in Kerry's office, and Kerry gained the living daylights out of the guy, apparently. So, yeah, nobody ever disrespected the gymnasium or threw ninja stars inside there again. Yeah. That was a few years ago.
That'd be intimidating for opponents, though, if they came to a gym and there was some ninja stars stuck into the backboard.
Yeah.
No bank shots.
It's about the same.
Those urban legend high school stories. There's one I always heard, and I can't remember who told me it. But it was before I went to Aranui. It was while I was at Aranui High School, actually, about Mr. Knops. And so it might have been before your time, Joe, but it could have been during your time. I can't remember. But everyone remembers Sasupo Talua. Mm-hmm. You know, played for the Canterbury Rams, strong, muscular, you know, athletic Polynesian Samoan, you know, that was could get up off the ground. But I always remember, so when my first impression when I went to Aranui High School was all the backboards have in handwritten permanent marker, do not hang on the rings or do not dunk. It's one of those two. And I know it's in permanent marker. And, you know, well, if you know Bert, you know, we all know him pretty well, and Phil, you know him better than all of us, how organised and regimented he is with everything. You know, everything has to pretty much fall into the plan. You know, like, you know that if you didn't have the jam for him on the road, you were in big trouble. You'd failed as a coach. So anyway, I remember
my most important job.
Yeah. So back then I could dunk. You know, back then I could get up a little bit, and but I remember one of the guys saying to me, "Hey, don't dunk on the hoops in the gym here, man. You'll get told off." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "It's basketball. You're supposed to dunk if you can. Like, why would you not?" Anyway, he tells me the story, and because when you walk into Aranui, and obviously it's not there anymore, but you remember walking in, you had benches to the obviously a small grandstand to the left, small grandstand to the right. You'd walk in, you'd have all your hoops around. Then Bert's office was just the far left of the stadium. Anyway, what used to happen when Sasupo Talua was at school was part of his conditioning was he'd go from one hoop, dunk the next hoop, dunk the next hoop, and go around the gym as many times as he could. Dunk. And apparently one day he was doing this, and he's doing his dunks, and Mr. Knops, so back then Mr. Knops, or Bert came out of his office and said to him, "What are you doing practicing dunks for? Should be practicing jump shots." And apparently snatched the ball out of Sasupo Talua's hands, did a big power, like big crab dribble, jumped up and threw in a big 2-foot, 2-hand dunk. Don't know if it's, I'm sure it probably is. I wouldn't put it past Bert. You know, like the guy probably still goes to the gym every day now. But like every time I'm like, we used to ask ourselves at school, like, do you reckon Mr. Knops can still dunk? Do you reckon he can still dunk?
Well, he could dunk. You know, Bert is the only player in New Zealand to play for New Zealand in every position on the court. He's played the point through to the 5.
Wow.
And playing for New Zealand. I think he played the 5 spot very briefly when Stan was in foul trouble at some stage, you know. So like there's a very small forward, playing those positions there. Yeah, no, the boy could get up. He can't at the moment, but I was talking to him a couple of days ago, and we do a phone-in session every well, it's every Wednesday morning my time, which is Wednesday evening your time. So about 15 of us do a Zoom meeting, and it turns into chaos pretty soon, as you can imagine, with 15 people. But he's I think he's having a hip operation soon, so he won't be dunking at the moment. But give him some time. But man, that boy could play. But a typical left-hander, speaking as a left-hander, and incidentally, that's the only sport I play left-handed, and that's basketball. Everything else, I'm a right-hander. But speaking as a left-hander, there's no such thing as a pretty left-handed, Kennedy. Wouldn't you say, Kennedy?
I disagree.
Ooh.
Oh, do you, Kennedy?
Being a left-hander.
I remember my year with Bert. I remember everyone was always debating if Bert could still dunk, and Luke Osborne was his assistant coach. And
oh, Luke, yeah.
I think he was a couple of years removed, but he was still an incredible player. And he would say to us, "No, Mr. Bert can still dunk." And I do remember one day, I can't remember if it was at Cowes or where it was, that he just casually dunked it really easily. And I remember just it blew our minds the way he did it. But then I think a year or two later, when I was at Aoraki Polytech finishing my diploma in sports science, and I remember part of my workout used to be those steps inside Kiwi 2 near the dive pool. And I used to have to run up them, I think it was 6 times or something like that, I can't remember. And I used to always see Bert going to the gym there. And I remember one day I finished my workout and I went downstairs to that cafe, and I was sitting there having like a milkshake and some chips, being unhealthy or whatever. And here comes Bert. He's finished his workout, drenched in sweat, and then he starts running up the steps, right? So I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. I think it was 6 laps I used to do. I can't remember. I remember watching him. He didn't know I was watching. It sounds a bit stalkerish now. But I remember watching him, and he was a machine. He wouldn't stop. I think I ended up getting bored and leaving. But like that's when I was like, okay, the urban legends are true. Bert's an animal. So.
Yeah, he is an animal. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, and a very good coach. Fine coach. Yep. Yeah, I enjoyed my time immensely with Bert. It's apart from the time when I forgot the jam, and then my life turned to hell. I brought that up this week at the Zoom-in meeting. And apparently I remembered the flavour wrong. I thought it was raspberry jam I was supposed to bring, but it was strawberry jam. So that was probably what was annoying him more. Yeah.
That was an awesome time for me, Coach. Was of course I got to have Bert for 1 year at Aranui, and then I got to come to SIT and play under you for a year. And then I think the following year I got to play for the Canterbury under-23 team when you two coached together, and we won the under-23 nationals. And it was just amazing to see you two together and just, get to soak in all that information. It was awesome. I remember we got, there was delays at the airport. We were flying up north somewhere for the tournament, and there was delays. And I remember you two were it wasn't too often we got to sort of hear you guys candidly. And I remember you guys just talking, and the whole team was just sitting around listening to you two collaborating. It was good times. I was just saying we got delayed at our airport on the flight to nationals, yep. And I remember just you and
breaking
Bert
up again.
Mic check.
Hello, now I can hear you.
I was just saying that the flights got delayed, so we had a chance to hear you and Bert just reminisce and tell stories. I remember our whole team used to always recap on that, like couple of hours we got to hear you two just school us on basketball, this collection of players for that Canterbury team. It was really, really cool, basically.
Yeah, I'm this recollection thing, I'm looking forward to a lot more input on that. There's great stories from every year, and I know I'll never retire from coaching. I'll just I'll always find teams to coach, sort of stuff. And every team, every instance brings funny and sad and frustrating and rewarding incidents. doesn't matter what level that it is. But I love my time with the Rams and with Bert and with the under 23s. That was good. There's a lot of water under the bridge there, that's for sure. But the most rewarding coaching ever for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys or it's different. Maybe, Kennedy, with your more extended experience at those high levels, it's always been high school basketball. I would kill to be a full-time high school basketball coach in a good program somewhere. It was. And by good, I just mean where they give it credence and resources. I'm not talking about winning, and recruiting and all that sort of stuff. You get to form relationships with players and get to know players. Sometimes not as well as you thought you did. For example, Nin, I never realized that you had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make it in time. I'm in awe. I am totally in awe of that, and I wish I had have known that back then. I really do. But I don't doubt that there are other stories that other players could tell exactly the same sort of, or that sort of level of detail. But it's the long-term thing that I love. The short-term things with picking a team 10 weeks before a tournament and having a couple of practices a week and stuff like that, that's enjoyable and all that sort of stuff. But it doesn't compare to spending 4 years watching someone come in as a raw, gangly or whatever young person and then mature into an adult and become a good person. You just don't get those opportunities. And also, I'm not that good a coach that I can make great changes in people once when they're adults. I don't think there's anything I ever taught, a 25-year-old who had made it to a high level. It's not my strength at all. So we're usually talking about rep teams or say NBL teams, those sorts of things. But at high school, you get to see the changes. You get to have, the opportunity to show different ways of doing things that they hadn't tried before, or to watch development, physical development, emotional development. I don't want to get personal about this, so you're doing some editing, I take it, Joe. But in all seriousness, I remember Tony, Tony Emerson, your captain with the New Zealand women's team. So I remember her at Girls High when she was a tiny little good athlete, but still really finding herself as a person. How do I interact with other people on the court? How do I interact with a coach? How do I interact with my frustrations? Because, she would want to do things that her body just didn't know how to do. Her mind knew what she wanted to do and things like that. And to see that change over that time at high school, it's just absolutely phenomenal. They're the sorts of things that get me going.
You might not remember this, Phil. There are a couple of. I mean, there are a lot of things that stand out for me when I was coaching the Tall Ferns. But I remember obviously Antonia Edmondson, because I was there for a small part of the journey there with her, and Georgina Richards, and I wasn't quite there when Shannon.
Oh, Georgie! Oh God, yeah.
So
that girl could jump.
We've been Tessa Boagni. There's a fourth player that's played for the Tall Ferns that's come through Christchurch Girls High School, and may a lightning bolt strike me down if I've forgotten somebody that I shouldn't have forgotten. But I do remember this vividly. I remember because and I was fortunate enough to travel with Tony through the majority of her Tall Ferns playing career, and she could keep going for as long as she wants to, but obviously she's married now, and I'm not sure what stage of her life she's at. But I do remember one time, and I know how rewarding, because I agree with you completely about the high school stuff. There's no better opportunity to build a personal relationship and watch someone grow from being a young lady to, or a young man, you know, a young boy into a young man. You know, you get to follow that journey with them. You know, not just in sporting life and academics and finding themselves and you know, them creating an identity. But I just remember, you know, I think, you know, and I don't know what it was like for you, but I remember what it was like for me, because obviously I was coached by you and I coached with you. But I remember we were in Auckland or North Harbour for the Tall Ferns versus Australia, and Tony was obviously playing. Tony had a heck of a game. I think Tony had about 26, maybe 28 points that game against Australia.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, I think we went down. We went down by 14. I mean, it was, you know, we were
I think I was there for that game. Did I?
So that's where I was going with it. You were there. You were at the game, and I remember obviously as soon as the game had finished. Well, not as soon as the game had finished, but I did. And I actually flew my mum up to watch. This was the first game my mum had ever come and watched me coach the New Zealand team. But I remember, you know, and this is it's a respect thing and a love thing. You know, is more than anything was just I remember you being there, so I made sure it was. I wanted to come and find you and speak to you. I think I spoke to you before the game, and I spoke to you after the game. But that was a huge thing for me. You know, like that just to. I felt really good about having that opportunity to not coach at home is one thing, to coach in New Zealand and coach the national team. And, you know, unless you've done it before, people wouldn't understand the sense of pride that gives you when you hear your national anthem in your home. And, you know, you're with people that you get into the trenches and do anything for them. But just to be able to, you know, look in the sand and say, hey, that's my coach there watching, and still my mentor, and hey, here's somebody else who went to Christchurch Girls High School as well, and you know, in the same team was just awesome. So I always just think, you know, when I think back to my high school coaching days, because I was fortunate enough to inherit the program at Girls High after you. For a number of years, I think I worked, you know, in the junior programs and then slowly worked into the senior.
Yeah.
But just that you know, I think there's no greater satisfaction than seeing them, first of all, seeing players who have ambitions to go on further with their basketball, go on and represent New Zealand or play professionally or do something else. But for me, there's even greater satisfaction in seeing them continue to play or contribute to the game. And there's even greater satisfaction in seeing them succeed in life and become mothers, become, you know,
mothers and fathers.
Become family people. And so, I mean, I'm at that point now where I'm lucky enough. I can say, hey, I'm old enough to say, hey, I've been coaching long enough where I've got players that are now wives and mothers, and you know, so I'm getting on. Not the young 14, 15-year-old boy that walked in through your door at Wigram many years ago.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, see, I can still, you know, I see you all as men now. You know, like, yeah, I get that. But see, I remember this incredible.
We might have just lost Phil.
Is this frozen up?
Oh, hello. We got you back. We got you back.
We got you back.
It's saying, just shake your head or something if I cut out, because sometimes the connection is pretty bad over here. Yep, I see you all as men. You know, you are, you know, wonderful examples of the human race. But at the same time, I'm seeing you. I can still see you as young players and slightly older players and older people as you go. And then we sort of lost contact for a while. You know, like you went back overseas, didn't you?
Had a few
There
stints.
was a time when I didn't seem to see you around so much.
Yeah.
We were meant to be shaking our head.
Hello. Sorry, it comes and goes. But my point is, I can still see you. I can see Kennedy. I think you were at Cathedral College. Then did you come? You came along to the 3-on-3 competition.
Me and Nino.
Yep. And I remember thinking, man, this is the most intense kid I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I have, you know, like you were scarily intense there on the court. I like this, you know, like, you know. And then you had silky smooth skills, you know, absolute silk. And I can remember thinking, Nin, you know, and I'm always a bit wary of saying this to people. Nin, put on 15 kgs. Come on, just put on some beef, mate. And next time you won't be, you know, when you run into that screen, they will fall over, you know, like, and those sorts of things. These are things I remember. Yeah, Joe, I remember you too. Yeah. You could play, you know, and probably, you know, you probably could have gone further than you did. I think you played briefly NBL.
Yeah, I played one
Is that
season
right?
and then tore my shoulder, and then
Is that what it was? Was it an injury thing?
yeah, and then I just started a business, and
yeah, life got different. But my point is, you know, you get a certain luxury at a certain age. You see people, and you see them as they are. You remember them as they were, and in another 10 years they'll be different again. So, and that's the joy of coaching, and that's the joy of forming relationships and watching people change. Yeah. Oh, gee, it was funny you said Georgina Richards before Kennedy, because I hadn't thought about Georgie for a while. She played for the Sirens, right? As well. She went on after high school and played for the Sirens. I tell you, yeah, she had hops.
Yeah.
Could she dunk? Like,
she could grab the ring. She was an exceptional athlete, that's for sure.
yeah.
You know, and she was, you know, she could have been. She's probably another player that could have been, you know, will certainly have the athletic ability to be anything. And as she got older, her focus and concentration got better, because you'd know when she was a bit younger, her mind would sometimes stray.
Yeah. Well, I took her to a couple of schoolgirl nationals finals. You know, like
We've lost you again, Phil.
Have you? Tell me when you got me. You got me back.
We got you back.
Yeah, just talking about Georgie. Helen is laughing on the other side of the boat here, because she remembers Georgie quite fondly, because Helen came away to, you know, one or two of these things with me, as well, as you can imagine, with the high school teams and things like that. Yeah. So she tells one or two stories about the trips away with Georgie. Yeah. Do you ever did you come across a player called Shannon Prophet from Christchurch Girls High School?
I definitely did, because she used to come and train with us and against us when we were at SIT. So she was on that level, and she would kick our asses. So, well, look, hold on. What I should say is there were some really talented guys there. You know, obviously, you know, whether that be a Stan Bidwell or a Marcus Wilcox or Brendan Boniface or Aaron Noel. Like, guys weren't going to. No one was going to physically compete with Aaron Noel, because he was 2 of me wide. But
yeah.
But, you know, Shannon could easily compete with the rest of us mortals and kick our asses most of the time. But yes, I was lucky enough to watch her play a little bit, and my recollection of her was pretty much no one could hold a candle to her work rate. Her work rate was just unreal, and she, you know, she would just completely outwork anybody on the floor. It was just unreal, her fitness level, and yeah, she was a heck of a player. That's my only recollection. I never coached her or anything.
Well, Shannon was in the girls' high team. We won back-to-back national championships, and she was not the scorer in the team at all. Shannon was like 8-10 points a game, maybe a 20 occasionally, you know. But the person she was marking had the worst game of their life every time. And I tried very hard to get her into the Olympic team. It must have been after I'd finished with the Tall Ferns, and I said, look, you would, who would have been coaching the national women's team?
Mike McHugh.
Yeah, and I remember saying, look, you've got to look at this woman here, this young woman here. She will defend any player in the world. I'll give you an example. The first year that we won nationals, We were seeded 24th at the tournament, i.e. we were the bottom seed and we won it. Now, the reason that we were the bottom seed is we didn't qualify here in Christchurch. Now, the reason we didn't qualify here in Christchurch, I think I had 3 of my players away with the national team, the under-18 team, which was overseas at the time of the tournament here in Christchurch. You know, the qualifying tournament?
Yeah.
So only 2, back in those days, only 2 teams went from Christchurch. It's not like it is now, like top 6 in the South Island you go through sort of thing. You had to, now, I mean, that was really tough because Christchurch was the powerhouse of basketball. So, but anyway, I wrote a letter to Basketball New Zealand, and I said, look, I think we've got a good team. We didn't have a good qualifying series. We had 1 or 2 players away, but I think we could be pretty competitive. If right up to the last second, any team pulls out, just call me and we will be there. I guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. So anytime up to the first game, if there is a hole in the draw, we will come. Well, there was a hole in the draw. So they rearranged it and we got seeded 24th because we didn't qualify. So we played in section 1, section A, against Avondale College. Like they were the top seed. And we beat them. We beat everybody. We beat them, and then we played them again in the final because they were obviously, and had another great game in the final. Leading up to that final, there was oh God, what was her name? Played for Rangitoto. Played for Rangitoto. And her name has just escaped me now. Well, she was averaging over 30 points a game, and we played them in the semi-final. She was the name is right on the tip of my tongue. Her father was a very good player as well, a very good player, played NBL. So here was the strategy for the game. Every second she's on the court, you're on the court. When she steps off the court, you step off the court. You just watch the other end of the bench. When she stands up, you stand up. As you're going on the court, I'll tell you who you're going on for. That was it. Now, I think that girl caught the ball 3 times in the game.
Wow.
Once she got the ball, she was unstoppable. She, and she was in the New Zealand Tall Ferns mix and all that sort of stuff. She was just a phenomenal shooter of the ball. So basically, she was unstoppable. Anytime she got the ball, she scored. I think she touched the ball 3 times in the game and might have scored 6 points. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't. But Shannon just didn't let her get anywhere near the ball. Like a sticky piece of flypaper. There was no lane open to give her the ball anywhere at all. And that was just what she did. And of course, Shannon got MVP of that tournament. And the next year, Shannon got MVP of that tournament. And I tell you what, Shannon also got MVP for the schoolgirls netball tournaments as well. She was just an absolute athletic phenomenon who loved to play defense, absolutely loved to play defense. And I thought that she could have, and she's still a top athlete. She does triathlons around the world sort of stuff. But I thought, with a bit of luck or whatever, she could have been a solid Tall Fern player. I would have had it in any team I coached, men's or women's. She could play defense like you wouldn't believe, and didn't measure herself by how many points she scored. Never would go to the score sheet and start counting up the go to the score sheet. How many did I get? Routine. Mm-hmm. Never. Yeah. Anyway, I rant again. You'll edit most of that.
And it's a great basketball surname. Just having a basketball singlet with the word "profit" on the back of it. That's a great basketball name.
It is a great basketball name. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh my God, is that the time? Hey, listen, Joe, I'm going to have to go.
Phil, thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
No.
you. It's been so great to see you.
Frozen.
I just wanted to thank you. It's been I could talk basketball with you all day. So it's been so good to see you, and I appreciate you taking some time to catch up.
Oh, hey, my pleasure, and I can talk basketball all day too, and a number of, and far too much in this, but it's great to see all you guys again, and then great to catch up over the past few years. Kennedy, as ever, great to see you. Yeah, the guru now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not quite.
You have to get me to some of your sessions so I can sit down and learn some stuff. And I mean that. You are a far better coach than I ever was by light years, absolutely light years. And Joe, I see you're busy all the time, contributing so much, not just at the coaching level, but with things like this and the gear and the plans and things like that. It's just wonderful. Yeah, you guys are doing it. I wish I was back there in some respects so that I could keep going myself, but another couple of years and I'll be there.
Thanks,
Might
Coach.
be longer, Helen says. Yeah. All right then. Hey, all the best. I got to go. I got a painting job to do on this boat.
Thanks,
Take care,
Coach.
Phil.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.
Do I go to the leave meeting? That's me. Leave meeting.
Kennedy, I knew I'd steal too much of your time.
Oh, it's okay. It's not a problem, mate. I've got everything I need to get done today, so it's
How awesome is just hearing Phil? I'm just blown away. I could listen.
Yeah. I wish I recorded the speech at my wedding. So there are a lot of really good ones, but mine and Chelsea's wedding. I wish we recorded it, but we didn't. So, but no, it's certainly just speaking about anything about hoops and stuff is always good to reminisce and look back and look on those good times. Certainly good to catch up for everybody.
With the, I think it was Paul Lee that was talking about getting an SIT team together, and I think there's a tournament in Japan for. I think we qualify age group wise, and
Nice.
I reckon we should get an SIT team together for maybe say 3 to 5 years time, 5 years time even.
Okay, wait. I know Ken will be 42. You're going to be around, what, 43, 44?
I'll be about 32, 5 years.
32?
32, 33.
Yeah, there you go, my bad. I suck at maths, and I'm Asian.
haven't aged here a bit.
Yeah.
I think I'm slowly.
Yeah. But there's a few tournaments here in Australia too that would be worth playing in. They're a little closer than Japan. It might be a little more cost effective to travel.
Yeah.
I think, and most of you guys are based in Australia now too.
Yeah, Carlos,
True.
Eden,
Heath,
Isaac, Smith.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Travis,
Yeah.
T-Mac.
Yeah, there's probably more of us here, but probably a lot easier. Maybe here and then the next time.
Buddies, yeah.
We can order, and look, and certainly, I've got contacts in the Philippines, got contacts in all of Asia. We can go anywhere. The following year, can make it an annual thing, but
And then
we'll see.
end up in Bali, eh?
Yeah, it's not as it's you guys know because you're more experienced in the parent realm than I am. But of course, things change for the better.
I'm so excited for you guys, man. Like honestly, that dad life is just king. Like, so I can imagine you're two on the same team in the future on the pick and roll.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say we'll run the pick and roll. I can just do this. We know the signal.
And I played there, but so I was trying to Google search an image for Wigram Air Base for the basketball court, and I couldn't find it. But then the Catholic Cathedral sign came. I was like, why does that come up on the images? Like, why on earth would that come up when I'm searching Wigram Air Base basketball stadium? So I clicked on the image. It gives you the option sometimes to go to the website where it is. So it took me to the Wikipedia page, the Catholic Cathedral College Wikipedia page. And I was scrolling through, like, what does this have to do with Wigram? And it has has like, and please don't put this on. It has notable alumni. Notable, and I'll scroll, and it's like got 4 people on it. I was like, oh yeah, who are these chumps? I was like, oh, it's me.
Yeah. And in the office, here's your name, like on the I can't remember what the title is, but it's celebrated past students or whatever. And yeah, your name's up on there. I'm like, yeah. That's why I was talking about. We're gonna have to introduce some sort of Kennedy Cup or shield or something like that for sure. But
yeah.
what Coach was saying about coaching high school basketball, that's where I'm at. Like, taking a break from Burnside and badly missing having that program. And I'm excited about building a girls program there, and because there's talent, but there's just no program. So, yeah, man, give me 12 months, and then there'll be a Catholic Cathedral team running around getting buckets.
In the Alf Holt Stadium?
In the Alf Holt Stadium.
I love that gym, man. I love it. Love it. Love it.
It's actually pretty similar to the SIT one. When you look at the platform that's above, where you look down, and the office, kind of, it's not quite the same, but last time, because the school went to nationals, because they went to triple A or double A?
Oh yeah, double A. Yep.
Double A nationals, and I happened to be there just because I was watching some stuff with the Tall Ferns, and Cathedral College was there, so it was, and I got to give one of the kids the Player of the Day type gift, which was some new shoes and stuff. But yeah, you'll have no problems formulating a basketball team there, because for one, like because it's obviously a Catholic school, there's a huge Filipino following there. So while they're Filipino boys, because basketball's the sport in the Philippines, like and if you haven't ever had the chance, I mean, I know Nin's watched it because he grew up watching the PBA, but like if you haven't, Joe, you seriously need to go watch some PBA, because you have no idea. It's like on another level. It's like NBA level. People go watch the games, and the level of physicality in the PBAs, it's on level with any of the most physical leagues in the world, because that's just the way they play. It's like thuggery, so like a lot of the young boys that go there, like I wouldn't have ever had an appreciation for this when I was at high school, because I just didn't understand world basketball until obviously I travelled the world and I got the chance to go play in the Philippines. So with a team from Australia here, but I had no idea until I went there, just the culture that's associated with the sport. So while there are boys there, you'll be fine. The girls national Philippines team will
still developing.
Yeah, they've got a lot of work to do, but I mean, I don't know I don't know what the demographics like at the school there, but certainly when me and Nin were there, it was a lot of Polynesian, a lot of Asian. A lot of Asian, so a huge Asian demographic.
But not a lot of Filipinos. I think there was only a small contingent of us.
Yeah, oh gosh, there was a handful of
small contingent.
Absolutely, I can remember you, Vicky Eden, Chris Eden, Jibril,
Arthur. And and his brother Mark.
His brother, so it was. But you'll have people there that will probably just by genetic makeup and culturally, if they're Filipino, they'll know and love the game of basketball already. So you already have half the battle, Not to mention now Stephen Adams has sort of made the game global in New Zealand.
Yeah. The thing that excited me about the students were, there's kids there that are there at 7 a.m, and they're just constantly asking to use the gym. They love basketball there. Like it's a basketball school, and Kieran Ray's in there coaching the boys. That's his baby, and that's why I'm going to be taking the girls, which works perfectly because I've got the girls program there, and I'll be taking the boys at St Thomas. But I'm excited about it because I got to sort of build it at Burnside, and I just love the idea of taking 2 teams and building up that culture. But the students at Catholic Cathedral, like their attitudes are great. Like they're hungry for it. So yeah.
We still have the junior school at Cathedral.
Sorry?
Do we still have the junior school attached to Cathedral? Form 1, Form 2?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if I can give you any advice, start with them, build them up, and follow them all. Because if you're going to, not to say third form's fine, you can start there too.
Yep.
If you start with the younger ones at the junior school and you build them up. Funny thing is, like you'd had access, but back when me and then were at school, man, we couldn't even get into the gym. Like we couldn't get the gym at lunchtime. It was pretty much sacred ground. you know, and then even the hoops on the outside had no hoops. We just had to literally go and play and shoot on a backboard. And if the ball hit the middle of the backboard,
wow.
that's bucket.
That's a bucket, you know.
Wow.
And we played in school shoes, so I think that's how we got our calf muscles. That's how we got our heart.
I mean, like those big, like for me, those big
rugged sharks, man.
Rugged sharks or pole shoes.
Yeah. But yeah, that was back in the day, man. We used to be a size ball 3 by Chris Wilding. We play lunchtimes, interval, no hoops. And when we do have a hoop, man, we don't want to leave the court. Even when the bell rings, you got to hit a swish. That's it in order to go back to class. If you're late, you're late.
Luck of the day. Luck of the day. If you get there,
yeah, luck of the day. Yeah.
Class of the day, or luck of the day.
You got luck of the day.
Luck of the day.
Oh man.
So I don't think you have any problem in
No.
you know, because. But my advice would be if you start the younger ones and build them up, so that way you can build a program in 2-3 years. You know, so you take those Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3 kids by the time they're year 12 or year 11.
Yeah.
Before they become year 13, you've got a pretty superior, you know, year 13 senior team.
Yes.
Not that you need. I don't need to tell you how to suck eggs, but
No. I'm with you on that one. I did see that was interesting to me. Just the, you know, being at a high school that has students that young, you know, starting from intermediate all the way up is for sure an advantage. You know, I was pretty pumped if I got a student that was year 10 and that I could potentially work with them for 4 years. But yeah, and that's what I like about the girls' game is I think even now, like the senior team would have a lot of year 9s and 10s in that team, which is interesting to me because it's, you know, in guys basketball that just wouldn't really be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might have 1 or 2 maybe, but to have, you know, some of the girls there, are, you know, have got potential to be pretty handy now. So, you know, and I plan on coaching those 2 programs for as long as I can because I just love high school basketball. That's where it's at for me.
yeah. No,
Yeah, miss my program, man. I miss Burnside High School. I miss that group. Having a couple of years away from coaching high school basketball, you know, you really get time to reflect and appreciate things that you've done. And yeah, I love that program and been still fortunate enough to be in communication with a lot of the students that I coached and built good relationships with. And like when Phil was explaining the benefits of high school basketball, I totally understand all that.
Yeah. No, I agreed. It's yeah. Certainly, yeah. I wish that I had more access to, like, you know, these days you can pick up your phone and video something so easy now, but there was no one videoing our games in high school or when I was playing 23 club ball or when I was playing Canterbury under 18 or 20 rep, you know, there was none of that stuff around back then. So
well, they've even got Glory League now. Every game gets filmed. Every game gets filmed.
Yeah.
And all the gyms have got that, you know, the built-in camera that records the games, and then after the game, they get an email with a link to the full game footage. Yep. Anyone can put the stats in. Man, you can do highlight, and it automatically, you know, any play that you have is automatically gives you a highlight reel of what you. It's amazing. And I don't know if you guys saw my vein. I posted some footage of me dunking because I've got students now that just did not believe me that I could dunk. Like I had one student go, oh, really? Give me like the eye roll, and I was like, oh, okay. So I found some footage of me dunking the SIT and when I was in Australia briefly. So I had to post it, you know, message those kids I could dunk. But I was just like, man, I just got no footage of back in the day. And what I wanted to ask Phil as well was I was going to ask him if he had any footage of us from SIT, any of those games.
Because I remember he used to video games, and then there was some sort of protest about the games being taped, something along the lines. There was a protest about it.
Oh.
But I mean, just going with you and your dunking, Joe, I remember that one game, it was a deferred game against Oceania High School, under 23s. It was a winter night. And Ken, we were coached by Terry Brunel. And you dropped major points that game, but you did an in and out cross. I think we always reminisce about the story anyway. You did an in and out cross through the legs, went down the lane, tomahawked it. And you yelled something like, get off me. But no one was off you. No one was near you because they were in awe that you got up so high. And we just walked back on defense. And that was some stories.
Yeah, man. I do remember Bert Knops. He used to get we had big country and he'd celebrate after he got dunks. He'd celebrate, like pump his fists, talk trash. And I remember he cracked down on that one day. And like, if you celebrated after a dunk, or even looked at the bench, anything, he would sub you off immediately. And actually, Ben Van Oosten at Canterbury under-20s, he was wide open and he went to dunk it, and the ball pinged. We were all standing up ready to celebrate. The ball pinged off the rim, so he missed the dunk, and the ball just went. And Bert Knox turned around and went mental at us for celebrate. So I remember that game and that dunk, and I hope I didn't yell that out, but in my mind, I remember not celebrating, but I remember the bench celebrating. And then after the game, Bert Knox was like, "Yeah, nice dunk. Yeah, that was good." And I remember all I wanted to do was talk trash and celebrate that dunk, but I just tried to play it cool. Just because even though I wasn't playing for Bert anymore, I still didn't want him to be like, showboat, show off.
It's in your head, right?
Yeah.
It's instilled, man. But
remember those backboard slaps? I haven't seen I don't think I've seen a high school kid do that dunk, but that was the coolest thing in the world. If you could dunk it and then slap the backboard, no one does that now though.
Like
but that
Kenyon Martin, eh?
Oh, Kenyon Martin and Rasheed Wallace, doing those backboard slaps, man. That was the business.
It was. I think it's just we're just showing our age now.
Yeah.
Man. But no, it's gonna be, just hearing all these stories, man. It's just great. It's just great.
Hey, Nino, I don't ever think I got to give you that because we haven't really seen each other much. And those sessions that you used to do with my Burnside guys, that was really an X factor. Like they love that stuff that you ran with them. I was like, I fully, my big plan is to build this basketball academy, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a high school coach. That's all I want to do now. Like coaching high school basketball was always like my third or fourth priority. I'd have a business and do this and that, and I'd coach for fun. But now I really want to move into that. But now I'd love to get you involved in anything because those boys used to talk about your sessions all the time, and they would do. You would leave, and then they would set up those drills and run them again because they just thought it was I couldn't run those types of drills, maybe because I'm not a point guard or whatever, but those sessions used to run were amazing, and that's now when I've got that appreciation to try and get the whole team to have being able to handle the ball, because after your sessions with those guys, we were unstoppable offensively, like any 1 through 5 rebound, outlet, go. And you improved the whole team's handles, and that's one of the reasons why we were so slick, I think, for a wee while.
Oh, didn't know that, but I was just happy to help, man. I mean, that's what I like doing, is just making sure that we see development. And but anytime, just let me know when obviously level 2's down. And I mean, I don't know, it's just like happy to help. Just want to give back. I mean, that was the first. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Phil, at the end of the season, Phil used to do like a review with us at SIT and ask us, why do you think you went well, and how do you, and what your goals for next season, and what's your philosophy? And I always said I always want to give back to what I've been taught, so that stuck by me. And I think I think it speaks high volume of Phil and how we regard him, as well as Mr. Knops. But I think what we've learned and what's been instilled in us is really developed the passion for the game to where we are right now. I think if we weren't in those early programs at SIT or Aranui, I don't think we would have been able to develop that full love of the game without that. So
100%. And that's why for me, Ken, to get you and Phil, because for me, part of the reason why I'm doing this is I really want to, like I said to Phil, like document Canterbury basketball and people, because I work with these teenagers now, and their understanding of Canterbury basketball is like only a couple of years old. They don't know much about anything, and it's amazing how quick that goes. So part of what I want to try and document some of that stuff. And the reason why I reckon you and Phil together talking is awesome for me is because like exactly what Nino said, the amount of people that credit yourself or Phil to why they're still involved in basketball today is high. Like the percentage is so high. So many of the kids that you've coached are coaching, whatever, playing, whatever. So that's one thing that it's something that I respect in a coach, that ability to kind of inspire. I don't quite know how to describe what I'm saying, but I've noticed, Kennedy, I think, you're part of you've come through Bert and Phil, and I think that you kind of picked up on, like you've described before, you had Dave Harrison and you've had Terry Brunel and all these amazing coaches, but you've kind of got that gift now as well, where you just inspire these people to sort of blossom into their own basketball entity,
You certainly want to create longevity, if you can. That's that. Just people, we create lifers, people who are in the sport for life. And you do that by, I don't know, obviously instilling your passion and creating that love, and then just said before, that love of the game with people, so that there's always that emotional connection to the game. And I've been lucky enough to be able to make a career out of it, and still making a career out of basketball. Wasn't the career I chose when I was 14. The career I chose was playing, but that's
13, bro, 13.
Even and as I've learned throughout, my coaching career is, even playing, no matter how good you are, you're still mortal in that sense that it only lasts a certain amount of time. You only have so many years and shelf life with your playing. So, for me, I've just managed to get that head start in the coaching game. Being 36 now, I'm so much younger than pretty much all my peers that are coached at an international or professional level. So I've been really blessed in that sense to have that. But and again, like, these things and hopefully I do credit it to but a lot of it just came from my best memories. Most of my best memories in basketball actually have nothing to do with playing basketball. Like, I have some good memories but the memories for me are like the car drives to basketball games in the back of James and Pina listeners' car, like listening to Tupac and and cramped with like dude shoulder to shoulder in a little Honda Civic. Yeah. Like those memories, or if it's just chilling out before a game and listening to some music with the guys at Kiwi 2, or going to get a big dog at Big Gary's with guys at Aranui. Those, chilling out at Cal Stadium and talking to Jamie Graham before he was even a coach, when he was just a referee, and Debbie Gray, when they used to run stuff there. Or Willie, remember Willie?
Yeah.
Willie used to run Cal Stadium before Simon Bestie. So like those things for me, when I think of basketball, like I think of that part of it. When I think of my best memories, most of them actually aren't even basketball. They're not basketball plays. They're just the people that you're around. And that's the one thing Canterbury, I've always maintained this. They just created the most amazing environment for all the, and there were heaps of people that came through in the same time that I came through, players, coaches, referees alike. We were just so blessed to have that. A safe environment to go to show up every Saturday, play club ball. Everybody knew everybody.
Yeah,
it was, and not only that, people looked after each other. Like the guys who were, the year before us, or the generation before us, like even guys like Nat Connell and stuff, like they really still do a good job of mentoring people. They might give you shit, and they might tell you, hey man, you suck, and they trash talk you, but that's their way of nurturing you. It wasn't their way of trying to push you down and kick you down. That was their way of just trying to,
build you up.
challenge you mentally to be the best you can be. And there are plenty of good guys like that who are just awesome, freaking, whether that be, obviously James for me was one, and Tim Cordray, and like just guys who have been about basketball for a long time, that we just, they really were guys who just, the Craig Hickfords and like Craig Ferrance, always tough as nails dudes. There were so many good people like that around that just, made the sport fun, made it safe.
Yeah.
So pretty fortunate.
Hey, Ken, a big shout out to Nathan Jones. He saw our chat and he commented on it. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't seen it. No.
I think it said something like "Hell yeah, Coach Ken" or something like that. "Hell yeah, boy" or something like that. I was like, yeah. So
too little.
Honestly, he's another guy. Like Jones is another one of those guys where they gave you heaps, but it wasn't because they wanted you to feel small. It's just because they wanted you to feel like you're part of the group.
Yeah, that's it.
So and for the girls like Blaze and I think there's plenty of there's just that. Again, it's really hard to put it into words. Sometimes you just think of all these experiences and you try and mash them together and you try. There is no word that explains it sometimes, but camaraderie and all those sort of things come to mind. But you can't really pinpoint what that was. But it was just we're pretty blessed.
Well, when I took a 2-year break from coaching, and so I stopped going down to the stadium on Saturdays and no more Tuesday night basketball and all that kind of thing. I realized quickly that socially I was useless without basketball community, like without just the people I'd see down at basketball and you slap hands with people and just the people through the basketball community. That's my life. Like all my people and all my good friends I'm connected to through basketball, and so that was one of the things that I realized. I kind of thought basketball was for fun and all that kind of. I didn't realize how deep it was for me. Like without those connections and seeing those people during the basketball season, I'm not one to go out to the pub, or I don't catch up and have coffee with people. Coffee culture, I don't really do that stuff. But it's at basketball, on tournaments, at games, going to a Rams game, like just seeing. That's where I connect with all my people that I've looked up to or played with or coached, all through my time playing basketball. So I didn't realize. So yeah.
No, you don't. You sometimes forget how close a relationship you form. And I was giving the referee when I said to Phil, I bet you there are no referees that demanded you to get on the stream. But I could name every single, whether that be Daryl Flynn Thompson, obviously when Bruce Martin was with us, Raylene Ford, Raywin, Tui, Gavin. I know I can remember all the referees by first name to this, to right now. So even they, Karen Berry Smith, and Karen Berry Smith and I are still in contact with each other.
Me too.
But, you just don't realise they were everyone was part of it.
Yep.
Whether they be and when Pete Van Hassel used to run the competitions back then. So it's a combination of so many different things that used to make that environment what it was. Without that, I wouldn't have gone where I'd have gone.
Yeah.
With coaching or anything in basketball, it always gave me a real sense of not so much safe. So obviously it was a safe and nurturing environment, which was so good for me. But a sense of belonging.
You hit it in the head there, Ken. So it's like that when you turn up in a game, even in a social environment, like in a summer league, like when you see that someone that you're familiar with or to see their face, is like it's that socialness, but it's that in a way it's brotherhood, really.
Yeah.
That you come across. I mean, think about it now. It was 2002 since we all first met. But I remember Joe, the first time I met you was in 2001. It was it was SIT when John Watson said SIT Canaries that pissed Phil off, and you were on the bench with T-Mac, and we were playing the Canterbury Knights. And all of a sudden, I was with James that day, and then all of a sudden, you just came up to me, like, "Oh, slap my hand." Yeah, and then I was like, okay, that's what stuck by me. And then the following year, we became teammates.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a fun year. And obviously, with Ken and I, we've been playing together since we were like 12, 13 years old.
Wow.
96, 97.
Yeah. But the thing was, what started the relationship with me and Kennedy was it was a bit of a rivalry because we both wanted to captain the team, but Kennedy was better than me. And I was like, oh man, this is yours. You take us where you want to take us. And then from there, just the relationship, the Michael Jordan doll, Space Jam, shout out. That's one of the greatest movies ever.
Remember the little doll I used to bring to the games? Remember I had that Michael Jordan Space Jam doll? Remember that?
That was it. That was our mascot, man. That was our mascot. But
I've got a Charles Barkley one from that in the garage, and yeah. Hey, Nino, when Carter was born,
Yeah.
you brought him Space Jam DVD, and he watched that DVD like a million times.
Yeah.
So you planted a big, basketball seed in that boy. So
Yeah.
what a gift!
Oh man,
I got to send you guys Space Jam 2 when it comes out.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm at two thoughts of that, so I'm just gonna keep it close to my chest. I don't wanna disrespect anyone. But I'm two thoughts of that. Space Jam #2. But in all honesty, like just talking about this now, just reminiscing. This is what's all about, like we had aspirations to playing higher level. I mean, look at you now, Ken. You're coaching a higher level. Joe, you played NBL. I was fortunate to make the 2010 Cougars team as a development player, and sort of had like tried my luck out in the Philippines, but that never eventuated. But I mean, just looking back, all of this, I mean, experience, man, life experience, friendships, and so it's where we are now. It's and able to communicate like this and just reminisce. This is what it's all about. So. And Phil was Leonard hit it in the head, man. Like development, seeing players from, like say Antonio being from a young developing teenager to fully developed professional player. Like, and I think you're gonna witness that a lot more being involved, and Kennedy's definitely witnessed that from his coaching too. So. Yeah, man. I wish you both luck with that and continue on and definitely want to see Carter play more and obviously our kids playing together, Ken, and running that pick and roll better than Stockton and Malone.
Well, you'll have to argue with Mum first, because even if I mean, honestly, it'd be nice if he plays basketball or our kid, our children, or however many we end up having. But if they play basketball, that'd be great. I mean, but to be honest, as long as they're happy and healthy, I don't care what he chooses to do. If he ends up being the world's best saxophone player or just a saxophone player, I'm just happy with that. All good. But you might have an argument with Mum because obviously, because Chelsea played for Australia. She's the best basketball player, in this relationship ever. But you might find that if he's good, she might have the argument he's playing for Australia, whereas I'm like, no, he's going to play for New Zealand. I'm like, so that's a household argument here.
Well, I'll just plant the seed, Ken. If I set up shop at Catholic Cathedral College and you guys have a bunch of kids, just feel free to relocate to Christchurch. And 12 to.
Here's the funny thing, Phil spoke before about full-time coaching in high school basketball. In Australia, you can do that. You can be a full-time high school coach, $100,000 easy.
Wow.
A year, like real money. You can be a strength conditioning coach full-time in a high school program here.
Yeah.
In Melbourne, it's the next level. There are plenty of very, very well-paid coaches getting paid, top dollar.
The setup that I had at Burnside High School, I won't go into the contract details that I had with having a basketball academy, but I didn't appreciate, I thought it was good at the time, but it wasn't until, again, when I reflected afterwards gone, man, I had an incredible job there and got to run my basketball academy. And then this year, I kind of felt kind of almost out of sync, and mid-January this year, I didn't think I was coaching, and then all these the universe just kind of made all these things kind of just, the path just totally changed. On New Year's Eve, what I thought I was doing this year was just so different. And then it's weird that all of a sudden these two programs just kind of came my way. And then this light bulb went off where I was just like, this is it. Like, that's me. I feel real fortunate. I didn't think it was really possible to be able to put a lot of time into those things, unless I had a similar deal to what I had at Burnside, like do a full basketball academy. But the schools have been incredible, like just timing, a lot of it is timing. And so I'm taking it and I'm running with it, man. I love it. Guys, Catholic Cathedral's girls not ranked. St. Thomas ranked 10th. Like, I love it. I love this challenge. Like, it's going to be, I just the process, just the long term. I've never looked at it long term. Like, I feel so fortunate to be back in back in coaching, and now I can't imagine. I think that's what I'm going to be for the rest of, until I'm Phil Burns on a boat somewhere, hopefully coaching high school ball.
When you said St Thomas the other day when we were talking in our last Zoom chat, and I can say it now because it's in context, but my eyes, in the back of my mind, my eyes lit up. Because that's our rival school. St Thomas is our brother's school. So you probably didn't know that. So you're going to probably end up having to coach against 2 games when I don't know if they still have the school exchange between St Thomas and Cathedral College.
Yep.
So you're going to end up having to coach those games. But I remember the most hype not the most hype, but a large amount of hype I've ever been involved in a game was because when me and Nino were at Cathedral College, we were playing St Thomas. I got my first ever dunk in a game at St Thomas's.
Yeah.
On a dude, like big time. And like the whole game, so I'm not going to go through the whole story, but it was on a dude. He just ran underneath me. It was like, 1 foot, 1 hand, which was the only dunk anyone could do back in those days. This was before windmills and stuff. No one had that athletic ability. But I just remember like the whole game stopping. Like everyone just celebrating, like just going nuts. It was like an M1 mixtape moment. But, but when you're talking about your coaching stuff, I'm going to share something in the chat. Actually, I'm going to share it to you. But there's a coaching clinic I'm running. It's about building a defensive-minded team. So I don't want to jump in with what Phil was saying earlier on, but I'm running it. But if you're saying for you, if you wanted to implement some of this stuff with your programs this year,
for sure,
it's Thursday night at 7, so 8, probably 8 p.m. Melbourne time. So it's going to be 10 o'clock your time. But I'm going to send you the link so you can register. It's free. It won't cost you anything.
And I'd love that. I'd love that.
Just so you can. In fact, you know what? I'll just share it to my Facebook page, and that way, then you can just do it from there. I'm going to share it right now. I'm just going to say, hold on, excited to be back. Yeah, cool. Check my Facebook page, and if you want to register for it, man, because I'm sure there'll be some really good stuff there.
Oh, perfect, man. I'm all over that. That sounds good. Yeah,
but no, sorry, I didn't mean it. Yeah, that was just when you said St Thomas, though, that really got me excited a little bit because I haven't thought about that for so long.
We had some good games there. Even Ron Carley, even St Andrews.
Ron Carley. Remember we're beating their school so bad the teacher had to sub himself in.
Yeah, and then after that they wanted to have.
We were whooping their ass so bad.
It was bad.
The school teacher had to sub himself on.
Yeah.
In like a proper game.
In an
actual school exchange game.
So like we felt bad.
It's amazing.
And we just felt bad that was the case. But we thought that we were awesome. And then the rest of after the game, that school team just wanted to shoot halfway shots with us. And then we had to go watch the rugby boys, which we hated. Rugby. We just hated it. But there's some fun. Like I said, I mean, obviously Kennedy and I, we've got a lot of fond memories playing, and obviously and meeting Jar. But we've so many great memories, man. So many great memories. And
I still remember vividly the first time meeting both of you guys. Kennedy, talk about like unforgettable moment at Cal Stadium, and you had this crazy haircut. Do you know the haircut I'm talking about?
I probably had the fringe hanging down.
No, you had a basket.
I shaved the lines in my head. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember you coming up and talking to me like we knew each other, and we just had this awesome yarn down at Cal Stadium, and that's where I first met you. And I remember the first time meeting Nino, and I remember our first day at SIT vividly, Nino. But there's something real magical about those SIT years, like the people that were there and the basketball quality, and just the friendships that came out of that group. It's just like Phil was saying, it's sort of bigger than basketball, but what they had going there was insane. Like, you know, people came from all over the country to be, you know, a part of that.
Yeah. Golfers as well. Think about it. The golf, boxers, that was like an elite sports academy. But yeah, those were the days, man. But like our first scrimmage and our training, remember Paketes and Billy Stan Benoit. He did with NBA Street being like a legit game. Everyone wanted to do their moves, and the M1 mixtape tour was like off the hook. Betty's did an off the chain move and dunked it on Paketes, and that really put Paketes' confidence down for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
because he got outshowed and with his own game. But I just remember that vividly, and then obviously Marcus was just, you know, coming in and just showing leadership. But I remember meeting Travis, Brendan, and all those guys. It was at a high school party that Kennedy brought. It was in Woolston, and man, all the girls loved it. All the girls loved the boys there, and Ken and I we just stood back and just started cracking up. But see, this is it. This is what we're talking about, is the memories, man. And,
so Phil knows this. Phil knows this because he did his own investigating. But what people don't know is that year I was at SIT, the guys. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. But one of the players at SIT, not myself, decided to borrow the SIT van and drive it to the party that I was taking them to. Mm-hmm. One of the players then decided to drive it to town after that party, and then they went to town and then they drove it back. But one of the players crashed it.
Dude.
Okay, so yeah.
I was in the van.
So Phil knows I wouldn't lie to him. Like I'm just. If you ask me the question, I'm going to give you the answer. Like, and I'm telling you straight. But I remember him pulling me into the room. He knew that he could call any of the other guys at Travis and Marcus, and they were all going to lie through their teeth to him. But he knew that if he pulled me into his office and asked me, I was going to tell him nothing but the truth.
Yep.
I didn't give any names, so I just said, "Oh, look, Phil, you know I wouldn't lie to you, but yes." I was scared, you know, like it was so yeah.
Dude, that's a tough spot. Coach, he's coach, man. Like, we're not messing with coach.
No. Yeah, but I didn't want to rat on the players either, so I didn't name anybody. It was like, okay, well, I can at least I can be at peace knowing that I didn't name anybody. Yeah. And trust me, that next training session, big time, all of us.
Oh man, what a memory! Oh, far out, that's crazy. I remember that. Yeah,
there's one memory.
The red van, eh?
Yeah, the red van.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously speaking from like this, I mean, there was one memory. We were all three of us were in this 2003 team. Obviously, there's a player from up north that we won't name, but obviously turned up drunk to our semi-finals game, of all things. And obviously Terry Burnell was the coach of that, and obviously I highly respect Terry. And had to make the tough decision not to tell Terry, hey, man, I don't know if you guys still remember that, but that 2003 team was pretty awesome. I mean, we had this from player one all the way down the bench, from Tate, to PG to I don't know, you guys remember Mark Smith, Peroxide Boy, when he dyed his hair.
Yeah,
Mark Smith, the man.
Yeah, so those were the days, and obviously Matt Perry, Carlos Shepherd, and Mr. Jesus Shuttlesworth. But I mean, yeah, man, and obviously Heath. But and you guys splattered together too.
Yeah, I live with Paulie.
Yeah.
P. Giddy and Heath Miller. Yep.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he started calling him Cheese for some reason.
Because he tried to fight Ray Seffel. Remember he told us that story that he fought Ray Seffel at World Foods Festival? Come on, Paulie. I caught up from maybe a couple of years back now.
That's right.
And just
oh my god.
Come on, man. We know you didn't fight Ray Seffel.
Man. Oh man, that's right. Classic.
He might have. He actually might have. He didn't. At least he didn't say he won the fight. We know he wouldn't have won the fight. But another funny story from when I was at SIT, we had a guy called Christian Carter, who was at SIT. And look, and I still speak to him every now and then now on Facebook. But probably the best advice Phil gave me was always it was advice that helped me make better decisions and probably not be so much more of a follower as more of a leader. But he always remember telling me to choose my friends carefully. That was one of his, that amongst many other bits of advice. But sometimes I could stray. And anyway, me and some of the guys, and well, they would have needed me anyway because I would have been, besides Aaron Knoll, easily would have been the strongest dude there at the course. But Christian used to drive a mini to campus. We picked it up, 4 of us, lifted it up and walked it to a corner so you can imagine this mini was stuck in a corner. It couldn't go forwards, couldn't go backwards because we lifted it. Phil lost his rocker at us, completely lost his rocker at us. And Christian sort of come down to class looking for his car. I was like, "Where's my car?" And then we're all sitting there sort of laughing, and it's stuck in a corner.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Oh man.
Some of the stories, man, used to, and when you live in each other's pockets for a whole year, and you're together all the time, and you're staying at each other's houses, and you're eating with each other non-stop, and training with each other 2, 3, 4 times a day. You start getting really short for each other over the stupidest things, Stan and Travis used to fight like cats and dogs. Those two, it was hilarious.
I could probably write a book on Caleb Burgess and Travis McElroy stories, man. Far out.
And Caleb was awesome to hang out with too, because him and Thomas Kerr, they had the PlayStations, but I always remember going to Caleb and watching movies. I remember watching Big Daddy, back when Adam Sandler was the shiz back in the day. Just some of the funny quotes. We used to be in the middle of a basketball training session, and Caleb was like, "Scuba Steve, damn you!"
Yeah, that's my dude. C Money.
Yeah.
He was. We went to Aranui together, and then he went to SIT the year after, and I went to. I took a year off, and I went the year after. But Caleb was my dude.
Yeah.
Still my guy. He'll watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he will. No, he was he definitely brought another level to training to Caleb, because he was so competitive.
He was intense, man.
Very competitive, hardworking. And I was lucky because we had like Marcus Wilcox too, who was ridiculously fit and really competitive. And then you had Marcus. Then you had Caleb, who was incredibly competitive. Then you had Stan, who was unbelievably talented and athletic, and
Boniface too.
Yeah, just had all this not natural. I don't want to say natural ability, because clearly he worked hard for it. But even watching Stan now, I don't know if you guys have seen Stan recently. He's in incredible shape. He pretty much is in the gym every day. And you think, well, maybe there was another gear. Maybe there was another gear that he didn't quite. Maybe he could have got to, or perhaps the opportunity didn't present itself. But he was a very talented player. And then there's lots of, but there. So many competitive dudes. So it was good for, because I was only 17 when I was there. I was still technically should have been in high school.
Wow.
I missed my last year of high school to go to SIT, because, to be honest, high school, as much as I love Cathedral College, it was probably a failure for me, because I just wasn't good in a classroom, and education wasn't my focus. I wish I could do it all again, because I would have been, I kind of feel a little bit embarrassed that you held in such high regard at a high school when, I wasn't the worst student, but I certainly wasn't the best student, and I was probably somewhere middle to average. So I always feel bad. I'm like, oh man, it's really nice to have that sort of recognition from the school, and you go, far out, I could have been and should have been a better student. Anyway, that's retrospect, and we all have those moments.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only completed high school purely for basketball. At Kaipoi, I didn't pass anything. I was just there for I just lived for intervals, lunchtime, after school to play basketball against people, with my friends. It's the only reason why I stayed through high school. And then thank goodness for Aranui. And it's like, how Phil talks about, he said basketball saved his life, but I wouldn't go that far necessarily. But if I didn't have basketball, man, in high school, geez, my mates that I hang out with are all in a different way. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I coach is, those kids that if they didn't put the energy into a sport, it's too much spare time. It's not too good for some people.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. No, we certainly had some, guys who have turned their lives around now back in high school. Obviously, they're different people now.
Mm-hmm.
But the path they were going down when Min and I were at high school. Cathedral was a rough. It was a good school, but it was a rough school when we were there. There were a lot of, recreational things going on that probably. Most schools would frown upon now. Would frown upon full stop, whether it be now or back then. And so a lot of guys strayed in a pretty bad path. So I think the sports stuff for me certainly gave, Phil said for him, gave me focus too, and purpose and belonging. Those, and they're all things that any young athlete, and that's where coaches sometimes, high school coaches or any coaches, that's what they've got to understand is most coaches don't actually have the comprehension or understanding of how you impact your players' lives. It's a big deal, and I try to explain that to my representative coaches here in Australia. Guys, you have no idea how much your small bit of time is going to impact these kids' lives for the rest of their lives. So, my message always to coaches is never, ever, ever, ever underestimate the impact you have on someone's life. And I think as a coach, you have a responsibility, to educate and we've spoken about these things throughout this talk, but you have a responsibility to inspire them, to love and enjoy the game. But you just, I couldn't write in a book how important each coach has been for me. It wouldn't be enough pages of that I could fill it out with the amount of gratitude I have for everything I've been given. For any coaches who might listen, if this makes you don't ever underestimate the importance that you're going to play in someone's life. Because it's
100%.
It's limitless. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, guys, I probably have to go because I've done well for 3. Awesome to see you both. Joe, anytime, obviously, let me know. And then we've got to catch up. Let's do one. We definitely need to do one of these, and I introduce you to Chelsea and catch up with Jalen, and likewise with your little one too. So let's tee it up at some stage. This is easy.
No, definitely. I think it's like with the situation where we're all in right now. I think we have taken a lot of things for granted.
Yeah.
And I think again, it's just we put things in perspective to where it should be. And I think catching up with everyone that we haven't caught up in a long time. Yeah. And definitely can. More than happy to. Obviously, Joe, when level 2 comes, obviously, are you still in Rolleston?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know that I'm there managing.
You're still lining up in the KFC line.
Oh man, that's me. But no, seriously, we'll catch up. But no, like it's been great seeing you all tonight, man. And I didn't anticipate for us to be still talking and reminiscing. But this is what it's all about, it's like catching up on so many great things, and it's going to be endless. So, but being fathers now, I think we do need our shut eyes as well, and do all the things that we need to do. So, Ken, awesome seeing you. Joe, likewise, man, and thank you for inviting me on this chat.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joe. Thanks for organising it. Take care, guys. We'll speak soon.
Yeah, later, guys. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Have a good evening.
See you, lads.